Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LFC Roundtable podcast. This is the podcast where we break down everything from the feeds. I'm your host, Aaron Armstrong, and with me today is Brent. How you doing, Brent?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you again, Taryn.
Yes, very nice to see you as well. Also with me tonight is Melissa. How you doing, Melissa?
I'm hearing you on this, and I don't know why.
I don't know what that means.
I thought there was an April Fool's joke coming, and then I was like,
I opened up the chat but forgot to close the window, so I was just hearing the podcast go.
Oh, was it echoing?
Yeah, it was echoing, and I was like, "Whoa, okay." Anyway,
yeah, sometimes I do that, and then but when I hear it, it plays through the podcast.
I've heard that in the morning. Sometimes I hear it in the mornings where it's like, "Hello, everyone, and welcome," and then it's like, "Hello, everyone."
Hello,
like,
everyone.
Whoa, who's responding to you?
Yeah. Well, how are you? Are you okay? Are you able to continue here, Melissa?
I'm okay. We can move forward. I'm so sorry, everyone.
All right. Well, we are here to talk about everything that's been happening on the Big Brother Canada 7 live feeds, and more importantly, argue about it. We are here live on YouTube. You can join us in the chat. Don't worry. There's no April Fool's jokes. We got that out of the way this morning. So don't worry about it. Seriously. Definitely don't worry about it.
Morning.
Thank you.
I liked it. That was the one April Fool's joke I've liked so far today.
There you go. Yeah, nice and harmless. People they get weird with the jokes. I thought it'd be fun to just kind of like look back in time to like this was day 30 in this season and this was day 30 in this season to kind of compare. I was curious myself, so I thought maybe other people would be as well.
I was giving you the thumbs down because I was like, "Boo! There's no April Fool's joke." Not boo. Oh, I hated your April Fool's joke. Just FYI. Okay.
Yes. All right. Well, let's start talking about this week in Big Brother Canada 7. It's been, look, I wrote the recap of the week, and this has been easily like the most we've needed to cover in terms of what happened this week. There's so much that happened, but I think the problem with a lot of the fans here is that they don't like a lot of what happened. So we're gonna get into this, but I just want to get your quick take here, Melissa. It's been a little while since we've talked to you. How are you feeling about the season?
The season as a whole, not so great. I'm not hating it like everyone else seems to be, but I'm not really having so much fun. And that's mainly like I'm having fun talking to you guys about how I'm not having fun, but I'm not quite having fun watching the feeds just because I feel like for a while there's been no formidable opposition to the Pretty Boys. I feel like I'm fine with there being some sort of dominant alliance as long as there's some sort of opposition to that dominant alliance. And even if they, try and they fail, to oppose the Pretty Boys, at least there's someone trying. But I don't like watching this thing where we have our hopes in people who clearly have no intention of going against the Pretty Boys and who seemingly and not only that, they seemingly have all this information. Like they have the information needed to go against them and to know that they need to go against them, and yet they still choose to ignore that information and still choose to believe that they're the true alliance of their individual Pretty Boy. And it's not fun to watch in that way. So it's a little frustrating, and especially this week where I feel like it's been a roller coaster, because in the beginning of the week, I'm like, Sam, she got it. She's a queen. I love her. I knew I picked her for a reason. And then all of a sudden it's like, it has just gone down. And then it goes up a little bit because there's like something going on and we're like, ooh, maybe something's going to happen. It seems like people are talking. It seems like there's going to be a new result. And then no, we were wrong. Now we're back down the roller coaster. And it's not, I like roller coasters, but I don't like roller coasters in that way where they make you think that something good is going to happen and then something bad happens. Like, I don't like that. I want it to be good. Something good happens, then something bad happens, then something good happens. That's a roller coaster I can get on. Not this one where we're being tricked into thinking that good things are going to happen for us.
Melissa, but the problem is that you've mistaken which part of the roller coaster we're on. We're on the beginning part of the roller coaster still, where we're going up the hill, okay? And we're almost to the top.
Fake outs.
Yeah, we're almost to the top. Like, here's the thing. Like, I am with you, generally speaking. I have hated this season and I have hated this cast. Okay, I'm with you. And by the way, I see Joseph in the chat saying that the producers are in love with the pretty boys and it really sucks. Girl, you are so full of shit. That is not true. That is not true. I can't tell you who I know, but I have people, and that is not true. They are not in love with the pretty boys. They're just frustrated with the rest of the cast as we are. Everybody wants to see some sort of opposition to the pretty boys. They want to see somebody wake up. They want to see some action. They want to see an opposing alliance. They want to see anything but what we're getting right now. But as I said last night, the status quo cannot be maintained, Melissa. I mean, everybody has their side pieces, and everyone's going to get jealous if their side pieces are evicted before other people's side pieces. I mean, we might have one more week of, Damian and Kira go on the block and Damian's evicted or something after they flush the blood veto, or if they're even able to flush it. I'm still not convinced that it's not going to be used this week. But aside from that, things must break because things... Right. By nature of the game, there's only one winner. So like I said, you think Anthony's going to be fine getting rid of Cory over somebody like Mark? I feel like he would get rid of Mark and keep Cory. So I do feel like that there is good stuff on the horizon, but I share your opinion that the stuff we've seen is pretty freaking awful.
Yeah, no, like I have not given up hope yet. Not at all. Not by a long shot. I am excited to see where this season goes. I am not sitting there like, who cares about the results? I do think that the pretty boys are playing a good game. So I also don't think it's like, these bad players are somehow stumbling to the end because everyone else is really bad. I do think that they're playing a good game. And just like I was telling Taryn earlier, when it comes to this blood veto or whatever, I was saying, I want Dane up on the block, but I don't want him up on the block because of some twist or anything like that. I want him to be up on the block and have a fighting chance and see what happens to him, and then either have him stay or be kicked out. But I don't want this weird production twist to be the reason that someone as good as Dane in this game, not that he's like amazing, but as good
he's
as
good
in this game, I don't want to see him get out by a twist. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also agree with what Matt said on the podcast earlier today, Taryn, which is that if Mark does get power, I don't see him backing away from any of his plans just because, it's not a double or a triple eviction. If he finally gets power, he knows how hard it is to get power. He knows he's the low man on the totem pole. He knows he doesn't have great relationships. He knows that these two people, Dane and Adam, are really, really great at comps. He'll take his shot. I really do believe he will. So I have hope in that. I am really frustrated, though, and I know Melissa and Taryn will join me on this. I'm really, really frustrated with the women of this season. That's been my problem over and over and over again. And again, this week, we're being let down by the women. We're being let down by Sam over her nominations. We're being let down by Kiki over her intentions and her campaigning. And also, we're also being let down, not that they are a woman, but by non-binary Kira, because they think that they have cracked this boys alliance when in actuality, what have you done? How can you maintain that? What evidence have you seen that is true? It is just really frustrating to watch all of them just continually spin their wheels and the guys just running circles around them. Having said that, I still have hope for a few of them, and I still believe that Kira can actually win the game.
Yeah, I read this. I saw someone say this on Twitter or Reddit or wherever, and they were basically comparing Sam's HOH to Jessica's HOH from BB19. Wait, yeah. Right? BB19? I'm like losing my mind. Because when she had the chance to make some sort of move, she was on the bottom. People were going to target her anyway. People were targeting Sam anyway. She had the chance to make a big giant move, to make a big giant splash. There could have been repercussions. Yes, absolutely. But she had the chance to put two pretty boys up on the block, just like Jessica had the chance to make a big move against Paul and his minions. And instead she got Ramsey out that week. And I feel like that's what's happening here, is that Sam has the chance to make a big giant move and is instead going for what the majority wants because it's easier.
Well, there's a reason for that and I do think I am very taken with that analogy because Jessica, I have defended Jessica in the past. And the reason I talked to Jessica on this podcast, she said the reason that I made that move was because I was going for the long game. I was trying to look at the long game and think, okay, there's two paths in front of me. And if I go with this one path, I can be part of the majority alliance and do what they say. We've seen that doesn't work, but I get the I get the thinking, and I do understand where Sam is coming from this week. And to be clear, I think Sam has made more progress than Jessica ever made on Big Brother 19 in terms of keeping herself in the house, both by virtue of herself and by virtue of Adam, in terms of, you know, how Anthony, the power structure of the Pretty Boys, sees Sam. I know that she's probably, like, again, the next one on their list, but she's been that for like 5 roundtables now. So I still feel better about her than I ever did about Jessica moving ahead into her outgoing HOH week.
Yes. Fun fact: Jessica's HOH week started on day 30 in the Big Brother 19 house. So, but I'm much more on Brent's side of this in the sense that I see the comparisons. In fact, when I went on Twitch Thursday night to talk about Sam's HOH, one of the first questions I got was, is this going, because she was talking already about targeting Kiki, people were like, is this going to be another Jessica's HOH? And my answer was no, because even though it's sort of similar, I think that, you know, Jessica's HOH was like really bad, where there was an entire house of people that were all gunning for her and Cody, except for one person, and then she put that one person on the block and let that person go home. Whereas with Sam, everyone is coming after her. In fact, I think getting Mark out would have been the sort of equivalent of getting Ramses out, where she didn't realize that Mark was actually an ally of hers, whereas Jessica had more reason to believe that Ramses was an ally. But if she had gotten Mark out, that would have been, I think, the bigger mistake here, because he's one of the few people that will take a shot at these guys. But ultimately, I do think she is getting out somebody that would have taken a shot at her, and she has made some inroads with some of these people. I do think that Anthony has kind of backed off a little bit. He's like, you know what? Sam is following the script that we want. Like, we can trust Sam a little bit. Whereas Esty and Kiki, they've been running around. Anthony's really starting to get suspicious of Esty. He's really starting to get suspicious of that kind of duo going on there. Kira is running around. Like, Sam's target has gone down a little bit, which is a far cry from where she was. And winning an HOH, the best you can hope for is that your target goes down. And we wanted her to make the big move, to put Dane and Anthony up on the block, take one of those big guys out, and then hopefully we would hope that, just like when they're playing pool, that just scatters all the balls and hope that she lands in a better position. But it doesn't guarantee she lands in a better position. Usually when you take that kind of shot, it's like, great, thanks, bye now.
That's usually what happens. Yeah.
It is hard to like really find fault with what she's done. Obviously, her logic isn't always the best. She doesn't have full knowledge of what's going on still. But I am definitely not on board with this in the idea that, like, oh, this was the worst thing she could have possibly done. I can't believe how stupid she is. Like,
I don't think it's the
she's
worst
doing her
possible
best.
thing she could have done, because the worst possible thing she could have done is put up Adam and Kira.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, okay, there you go. But still, like, I guess I'm just coming from the perspective that, like, if I was in the house, and I would prefer to make a big giant move like this. If the house is split up this way, I would prefer to make a big giant move. And if I get taken out the next week, well, so be it. I'd prefer to be the person known as the person who took one of the took a shot at the big power players, rather than the person who was an idiot and targeted someone who may not be coming after them and missed the whole shot at a big power player when I had the chance, and then gets taken out right afterwards. Like, I just feel like I wouldn't want that on my
to be fair, to be fair, Jessica did that exact thing, still went on to go and win the Amazing Race. So I don't know.
So
That's all I'm
you could
saying.
win the Amazing Race.
I suppose you could do that, but like, that's really hard, as we talked about on the podcast last night, Melissa. In order to do that, in order to say, okay, I'm going to take the big shot because, and if I go home next week, you have to confront the fact that you are in dire straits. You have to confront the fact that I'm being outplayed right now, and I need to do something about it. And I don't know that many people that they have on this season are capable of that. They would rather live in their own stupid universe where everything is fine. Like, don't tell me anything. I don't want to hear anything. That kind of thing, where they have their fingers in their ears and they just don't want to know about anything. I will give Sam credit for at least improving her position within the house this week, but it was asking a lot of her to target Dane and Anthony. And I know that they were on her short list, but basically, you have to say to Sam, okay, everyone wants you out right now. Everyone wants you out. And she said that in the diary room, but I don't know that she actually believes that. Yeah. Everyone wants her out at some point in time. Go ahead, Taryn.
Because basically, putting Dane and Anthony up on the block is the Hail Mary, the last resort. If you are just colossally screwed, this is the last thing you can do to try and make things better. Sam doesn't want to believe that she is in that bad of a position. It's much better to hear what Adam is saying, and when he's saying like, no, I've got you. I've got an in with these people. I can keep you safe. When you have that option, and instead you're going to be like, never mind, I'm going to go for the Hail Mary and assume I'm screwed. It's really difficult to make that call, and arguably not necessarily in the right decision to make.
I agree. Melissa, we've talked also about people making big moves for the sake of big moves. See, from Sam's perspective, she's
I don't
doesn't go win.
Big move for the sake of making a big move. I say this is either she does this or she gets taken out next week. Like, I just feel like I don't know. And I think that the situation also is that like I think that she shouldn't be coming after Kiki out of everyone, because I do think that Kiki is one of her few options moving forward. And instead she's getting rid of someone who she could possibly work with. Apparently Kiki was saying that like she sees that she needs to work with Sam. And I think that the fact that Kiki's in danger should show Kiki that she's not safe, and she shouldn't be relying on these people who are saying that she's safe. Go ahead.
Well, as Kira has said many times, the key to a successful campaign when you're on the block is consistency. And Kiki has been very inconsistent about what her actual plans would be and who she would target. She said many times, "Oh, I definitely want to work with Sam," but then she will talk with Esty about like, it needs to be Sam and Adam on the block. We need to get them out. And then she'll go back to being like, "Yeah, but Sam is, I guess, okay, maybe." And then she'll go back to like, "No, we need to get her out." And it's like it's very difficult to get a sense of, and like maybe at this point Kiki would be okay with the idea of working with Sam, at which point maybe the right move would have been to backdoor Cory, but Anthony has gotten in there and convinced them that that's not the right move. So you gotta sort of give some credit to Anthony there.
Put Esty up on the block. She's like...
Well, at least Esty can play, though. At least she can convince people of things.
I have far more faith in...
everything for me, Esty.
Oh, really? I have far more faith in Esty than I do Kiki. I mean, I
don't have any faith in Kiki, but I think that Kiki would be more willing to work with Sam than Esty would.
That's because Dane's in her ear.
It is because of Dane. And I think that I'm over Esty, because I feel like she's just doesn't have a brain of her own, and all she wants to do is just do whatever Dane says. And she's like, anything, even like you think she's talking sense and you think she's finally come to the realization, and then the next minute she's like, oh, well, no, Dane's my number one, and anything I do, I'm going to talk to Dane about it, and I'm going to go with Dane. It's like, what is wrong with you? Like,
again, it's confronting reality. She can't confront reality that she's being played by him. And to be fair, I don't know that he wouldn't choose her over the pretty boys eventually if he was forced to. Like, he's okay right now. Okay, I'll let Kiki go, but I'll be damned if he's going to let Esty go, like if Anthony says. I really feel like he'll put up a fight against that.
And can I just say, this is exactly why I'm enjoying this season. This has been like, we couldn't even get out of the gates without this heated discussion about these players, because we're so invested. Like, this is so much better than the other kinds of seasons that I've experienced with this kind of gameplay, where it's just like, it's boring and you don't want to like even talk about it. Like, there's so much to talk about here. There's so much that's happening. So let's fill you in here on what we're even talking about at this point. Last week we saw Chelsea evicted unanimously. Interestingly enough, Adam said the other night that Chelsea came up to him right before her eviction and said, I was planning on outing the whole boys thing and blowing up your game in my speech, but you know what? I like you, Adam. I want to see you do well, so I chose not to. I hope you win. And Adam was like, thank you.
I couldn't believe that. Is that actually true?
I don't know. We'll have to ask
not on
Chelsea.
Social media. Like, she needs to get her butt on social media, and we need to talk to her. I want to give her the what for, because like the fact that
all right, Chelsea, make sure you block at one lucky gang.
Are you guys not with me on this? Or like, Taryn, if you knew that there was like some giant power structure in the house and you were on the block and you were likely going to go home, wouldn't you put up a fight before you went out? Wouldn't you like throw the bomb in the middle of the field and like,
well, yeah,
F all these people?
Yeah, definitely.
What the hell was she doing?
I don't know. She made a decision. Anyway. We see Adam win the HOH in the double eviction. He is going to evict Eddie unanimously. Very sad. Very sad. I know Brent is not sad to see Eddie go. Any parting words for Eddie, Brent?
I mean, I felt bad for him that he was crying. Obviously, no one likes to see anybody cry. But, I mean, he just ran out of room, to be honest. Everybody has a side piece. He wasn't anybody's side piece. He didn't have any good bonds with people. He has said that it... Okay. Give me a minute to rant about Eddie. Okay, so I gave him the one last week, okay? And you all did not. And I called it because he... does not have any bonds with anybody in the house. This, I'm speaking present tense, obviously, when he was still in there. He has said that, it was because, I tried to talk to people and they just didn't want to be my friend. And it's really hard to talk to people when you don't have anything in common with them. Bullshit. You did not try. Like many of these people in the house, you did not try. You were too busy in the file room, and when you did come out of the file room and actually talk to people, you didn't have anything in common with them. You couldn't even make something up. You couldn't even listen to them. Look, I got a newsflash for you, Eddie. People like to talk about themselves, so listen to them. Adam, he'd sit there and talk to you about himself for a full freaking 2 hours. You couldn't be bothered to do that. You couldn't be bothered to do any of this. Girl, bye. I just don't like the fact that he's blaming... What he's essentially doing is blaming the fact that the English is not his first language and that he is not Caucasian on the fact that he was evicted. And I am saying that I do not believe that that is the reason why you were evicted. It may have been a contributing factor, but it was not the reason for it. Own your shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Right,
I interact with people that I have literally nothing in common with every single day. And you just have to do it.
Yep.
You just have to, especially if you're playing a game. I mean, I'm just doing it to survive in the real world, but he's doing it to win a game. So, you have to force those bonds, if you have to. Even if you have nothing in common with them, there's always something to talk about, even if you're just talking about the game itself, and just strategizing and talking and being like, oh, that veto competition, that was crazy, there's always many things to talk about, even just preparing food with somebody, whatever. I just think that saying that you just don't have anything in common with people and that's why you couldn't create any relationships is, I don't like that excuse, because there's always something, and
there's always something he could do. And I do feel like that he and Mark are somewhat similar in that they're both kind of socially awkward and they're not great, but Mark at least is good at pumping people up and, thinking about a little bit of strategy. I don't really know. I even listened to Taryn, his explanation for the Kalen, not the Kalen vote, the Mackey vote. And I didn't even like that one. Okay, you put your trust in Kalen, but you knew that Kalen was on the outs of people. You said that Kalen, didn't give his word, but I just that was the beginning of the end for him. So
I felt bad because I feel like there's more in there for him. I feel like we didn't get to see full Eddie, and that was a little disappointing. But I mean,
oh boy,
I just feel like I think it was a little too early for him to go out, but. Oh well, it happened that way. I'm a little surprised that was who they chose to evict in a double eviction, considering that the double eviction is usually reserved for people who are really good at strategizing and could totally talk themselves off the block or talk to people and be able to convince people that they should stay. And so you're worried about giving them that ability to talk to people. So you just do the double eviction where they have 5 seconds to convince people to keep them, like Netta or someone like that. And instead they used Eddie, who already struggles with communicating with people in the house, or says that he did. And that's what you choose to do. I don't know. It just seems pointless.
I'll say this, that we saw somebody evicted. I won't say who in case people haven't watched it yet, but on RuPaul's Drag Race, and what they said on the stage when the judges were talking to them was, I just haven't showed you my best yet. And I really want to, and I feel like I haven't yet. And then Ross said to them, well, haven't you watched this show before? And haven't you heard other people say that? And haven't you screamed at the television when they did say that? And they were like, yeah, I admit that. And that's how I feel with Eddie. I'm like Doom in the chat. We saw the full Eddie. It was freaking terrible. I don't feel like we needed to see anymore. That's why I was happy he was evicted. Sorry, Eddie. Love you, but you were a terrible player. Okay.
All right. Well, everyone already knows my thoughts on Eddie, but interesting thing to note here in the stock watch, 126 shares of Eddie were purchased over Reddit and the patron group. So a total of $378 of value was lost in the double eviction. We might be in for a crash here in the market. So Eddie is evicted unanimously. Sam is going to win the next HOH. Kiki quickly becomes the target here as a way of sort of weakening Dane. Anthony and Cory were on the hit list, but Kira kind of vouched for them, saying that, I'm close with them. We can use them as numbers. You should really take a shot at Kiki. Sam would like to take a shot at Dane at this point in time, but feels like she won't have the numbers to get him out. And Adam says, please don't. We can trust him. We can help. He can help us, so on and so forth. So the nominations come down to Mark and Kiki. Now, in the meantime, Esty manages, and this is where things get a little crazy, is that Esty manages to flip Sam and Kira, convincing them that they need to work together because of this guys thing. And now, thing to note here, Esty doesn't believe it's real, but is still using it to convince Sam and Kira to side with them and keep her and Kiki safe. So, and it works. Sam and Kira are convinced that these two women want to work with them and that they need to make sure a guy leaves the house and a woman cannot leave the house. So at this point in time, they flip their target onto Mark.
What is wrong with her? This is like, honestly, I'm so infuriated. Like what you said on one of the updates was so accurate that it was like they made the most sense and everyone was like, yeah, when they were lying. When they were like trying to manipulate Sam, it was like they were actually playing a good game. Like, what are you doing? Like, how is it possible that you're like, it's like opposite day where it's like all the lying that you're doing and all the manipulating you're doing is actually good gameplay. And then everything you're doing like legit is totally terrible. I am so upset with Esty. I guess like I had really high hopes for her. I feel like with Kiki, I had high hopes for her, and then I lost that almost immediately. And then Esty, I was like, okay, but Esty's still there, and Esty's the one who's got the brains. She's the brains of this operation. And then it turns out she doesn't have any brains either. So I'm very frustrated with them. I was really, really hoping that the two of them were going to be some sort of force to be reckoned with in the house, and that is not the case at all. So yeah.
Taryn, Bill Hall says in the chat, the absurdity level this season, fake Esty is the good player. That's how crazy things are. Yeah,
it's true.
I gotta say though, again, if the pretty boys split up, don't be too low on Esty. We've seen that she has capability to play the game. The problem is where her loyalties lie and that she is too engrossed in the Dane thing. If the Dane thing becomes the actual thing,
also, like, why in the world, though? Like, can anybody explain this to me? Why she's so interested in what Dane is doing and what Dane has to say? He doesn't have a tooth. He has a lisp. Like, I swear to God, like, it's not like he's like some oracle or something. And it's like, oh, this guy, though, this is a player. He's like he runs around. He's like farting everywhere. It's like, I don't understand why this is the guy.
He's no like, Jesse with glasses.
He's no Jesse with glasses. I mean, let's be real.
They're in prison. They're in prison. It's like RuPaul's Drag Race.
It literally doesn't make any sense to me. It makes no sense to me why this is the guy. Like, I mean, even Anthony, I'm like, okay, maybe I could see why people would be engrossed with him and be like, okay, I get it. Like this guy, because the way he talks and the way he like can convince people of things. It's like with Derek and BB16, it's like, that kind of person, you're like, I get it. Oh, I totally see why they're following along with him. But Dane, like, I would think of him as a joke if I was in the house with him. Like, I wouldn't know about the pretty boys, so I wouldn't know about all this stuff like that's going on in the background. But like, I'm so lost. I'm so confused. It's like everyone's like, oh, but like Esty gets in the diary room and she's all like, oh, well, you know what? Sorry, my loyalty lies with Dane. It's like, what? I don't know. Anyway, continue.
He doesn't have a tooth. What about when he puts his tooth in?
Oh, by the way, he lost his teeth for like 10 minutes yesterday, I think it was. And I was like, oh, I was praying to God that somebody had like taken them or that he never found them. So
Wait, you want to continue to see no teeth?
Well, I mean, like the fact that he put them back in his mouth without even washing them.
Ew. Ugh.
All right, so the blood veto thing happens. We saw this on the episode. It was given to Kira. Nobody really spoke up. We've already kind of ranted on about this. I did tweet out today. I really hope that if they go to vote Kiki out, I hope at least one person says, you know, as terrible and harsh as this is, you really should have tried to get that blood veto. I vote to evict you, Kira or Kiki, because I want Jason Guy to be referenced. At least one person has watched that season. I think.
Thank you. I was like, I knew that I heard that, but I was like, where I just couldn't think of where that.
I thought of it because Adam was gonna say in his veto speech that he respected. He was like, I really respect the decision you made to sit out of the blood veto thing, Kiki. And I was like, no, I want you to do the opposite of that. I want you to feel like you really should have gone for the blood veto, Kiki.
I hope that Arissa, I know that she listens to our podcast occasionally. Arissa, please read her the riot act. There was a veto sitting right in front of her. That's all she had to do was grab it. That's all she had to do was just say, you know what? I'm not leaving until I get it. Sorry, guys. I'm staying out here. 12 hours, 15 hours. No problem. Yeah. Sorry, I need it. Bye. Yeah. That's what
this whole blood veto thing has been it's just so terrible. It's like I think I see what they were trying to do with it, the producers, where it was like, you know, they do those things with like Ica with the letters or whatever, or them putting the little slot cards in or whatever, and they have someone watching it and you see stuff that they don't think you're seeing or something. Like I understood, like I guess, oh, we're gonna make them choose unanimously. They're never gonna be able to choose. And it's like, oh, wait, 5 minutes later, they've picked Kira and no one's fought for it. And everyone's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care. Like, I don't understand why no one stood up for anything. And then when Esty stood up for it, why didn't Dane or Kiki or anybody be like, yeah, let's just give it to Esty then? Like, instead, everyone just was silent. And Esty's just like, I want it.
Again.
And then no one backs her up. No one says anything.
It's all about confronting your position within the game. That's what they're not able to do. Melissa, I swear to God, everything comes back to this. If Kiki could have confronted the fact that she is likely to go up, that she is likely to be evicted, she would have fought for the veto. But to confront that is difficult to do. It is hard when the path is not clear in front of you and you don't know everybody's intentions. I'm not defending her, okay? She should have fought for the damn thing. But that's what it forces you, because in order to do that, in order to say, look, I'm going to stay out here for 15 hours and I'm going to fight for this and I'm not leaving. And I'm not leaving until I get it. It requires her to confront the fact, okay, I'm in deep shit right now. I have to have this if I want to stay in the game. Big Brother's only won by one person. I can't think about anybody else but myself. People are going to be mad at me. So what? You have to be willing to confront that. And she instead chose the other path where everyone's happy with her and there's no drama. And she's constantly telling herself and other people, like, I'm not worried. Things are going to be fine. It's going to be okay. I'm not going. I feel great. I feel great about that conversation that just went terribly. I'm definitely staying. I feel good about this. Like it's almost like she's very practiced with like positive affirmations. But like that does not. I really do. Taryn, do you agree with me on that? That everything comes back to confronting. I feel like this is Big Brother, confronting your place within the game with an honest look, not what you wish it to be, but what it is. And if you can do that, you can change your fate in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy in the chat pointed out it took longer in Big Brother Canada 3 to decide who to remove from the jury when they took Parhar out. Yeah. Then it took to give them power.
That was kind of as well. I think Aman said something in the chat. He said basically that Arissa should ask every house guest that is evicted before Kira why the hell they didn't go for the veto. I don't know if it's going to be applicable after this week, so I hope to hell she at least asks Kiki why the hell she didn't get the veto.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get back to the recap here. Again, so much going on here this week. Mark and Kiki do go up on the block. Mark is still the target from Sam's point of view, and this is dangerous for the pretty boys because it means Dane is going to have to betray Esty and Kiki in order to keep Mark safe. That may not even happen, but probably will. So the main point here is they need to come up with an alternative plan. Dane and Adam, they come up with a plan. The plan is let's get Cory backdoored. If we can get Cory backdoored, that helps save Mark and hide the hides the pretty boys because there's a new target. Sam doesn't want Kiki to leave, but Sam might want Cory to leave. That was her original target anyway. So they start trying to pitch this idea. Adam does kind of have Sam on board for a little while, but Kira says, no, you can't have a woman leave the house. All of this is going on. In the meantime, Anthony starts hearing about it. Anthony starts going, wait a minute, no, Cory's not going up on the block. So Anthony starts going to work. He's been working on Kira for a while now, and so he goes into full-on Anthony mode. He convinces Kira that there are cracks in the Guys Alliance, that it's not a threat, that they don't need to worry about it. He convinces Adam that Cory is loyal to the group and that Kiki is the one that needs to go. It's fine if we bring Sam in, but we need Kiki to go. Cory, she's loyal. She's good. We should keep Cory. Adam is convinced. He then coaches Adam on how to talk to Sam in order to get Sam to agree that Cory is good and Kiki is bad. So Adam listens to him, talks to Sam, convinces her, yes, in fact, we should keep Mark. We should get rid of Kiki. Kiki is the danger here. I trust you, Adam. I will work with your group moving forward. For now, this is what we'll do. He then convinces Dane that Cory is good and that Kiki is bad and Kiki needs to go. Dane capitulates to what Anthony wants, and after Anthony does his thing, things are now starting to flip over here. In the meantime, Kiki has been sketching people out, being all, less passive-aggressive, rolling her eyes. She doesn't like Kira. She doesn't like these people. She has a hard time talking to people that she doesn't like. We've talked about this, and it really sketches them out. So that kind of lays the groundwork for when Adam convinces Sam. Sam then convinces Kira that Kiki needs to go, lets Kira know that Kiki has said their name as a potential target, or at least somebody to be put on the block. And so Kira is now flipped, and Kiki is the target once again. Mark will be staying according to how that goes down.
Yes.
It's a lot of stuff.
Sorry, I was being intentionally quiet because I didn't want to interrupt you again.
Yeah, no worries. So Adam ultimately wins the veto. He does not use the veto. This is what happened today. And during the veto ceremony, something happened. They were told something along the lines of, hey, nobody is safe this week. You may think that the veto is done, that everything is over, but no, nobody is safe this week except for Sam and Kira. Now, we kind of assume that Adam is also safe here, having won the veto, but they're not sure of it in the House, so they're kind of wondering what's going to happen. Kira has apparently found out what the blood veto does, but they are not allowed to tell anyone. So we don't know what's going on with the veto, if it's going to be used or if it can be saved or whatever. But Kira has talked to Sam because Sam was like, hey, with this power, just so you know, I still want Kiki gone. Kira says, don't worry, I do too. No matter what happens, Kiki will be leaving. I will be voting her out. Everything's going to be fine. I can't tell you anything else, but I can tell you that we're going to be voting Kiki out. So it appears that it's not going to change the outcome of the week, no matter what it is, unless Kira is misunderstanding or not being forthright about what's actually going to happen. But that's where we're at right now. Current vote count is probably something like Adam, Kira, Anthony, Cory, and probably Dane to evict Kiki. Esty and Damien probably to evict Mark, but Damien might also flip over with the House if he sees that's where the numbers are going. He was already he promised Kiki his vote, but he's also a little bit up in the air here, so I could see him flipping over. But right now, Mark seems very safe, and that's where we're at here. Melissa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed that the blood veto isn't going to do anything really to switch up the week. But at the same time, I'm not disappointed because it helps maintain the integrity of the game if the same result happens that would have happened had the blood veto not been used. So I guess that's good. It's just, the whole thing is just it's a little unfortunate just because at the start of the week, I was very excited thinking that since Sam and Kira had seemingly figured out everything and we're like, we got to get one of the guys out. It's happening this week. I figured they'd join up with Kiki and Esty. There'd be a big thing. And even Damien, I just figured that there'd be some sort of opposition to the pretty boys. And instead, no, there's not, that we're going to have to wait a few more weeks for that to happen. And if anything, I don't think there's going to be opposition to the Pretty Boys. I think that there's going to be infighting within the Pretty Boys, and that's how they're going to be not taken down, but I guess that's how we're going to like wheedle this thing down. So I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, it's kind of like, now that we know kind of what's happening, I'm kind of like, okay, next week, let's move it along. Cause like, okay, I guess we've lost Kiki this week, likely.
Melissa, the reason that we're losing Kiki is because of Kiki.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. Totally. No, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that like this is anything else. I'm just saying that like, I'm disappointed that Kiki and Esty didn't use this as an opportunity to recognize their position in the game. And even when they're literally force-fed the information, they do nothing with it and instead pretend like it doesn't exist and it's not real, and let's just continue on the path we're walking down. And that's like, it's frustrating to watch that happen, because every time they're in the conversation with Sam and with Kira, they're like, oh my God, yeah, we're going to take these guys out. We're going to do this. We've got to team up or else there's a problem. And then the second they leave, they're like, yeah, we're getting Sam out next, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It's like, what is wrong with these people? It's very frustrating to me. It's not like they don't have the information. It's not like, oh, we're expecting them to be omniscient or whatever, like, and just know that this is happening in the background. And how are they supposed to know? They're literally getting this information, but they're unwilling to see it. So it's, yeah, tough week.
Yes. Something else that came of the potential for the blood veto is that Dane was talking with Esty and Kiki about potential scenarios. Say, for instance, Adam ends up on the block. We should probably vote Adam out, is Dane's thought. And I think he's serious about it. He actually kind of approached Anthony with the idea, and Anthony was like, no, I don't think so. But Dane is really mad at Adam. Adam is finally getting what he wants because Sam is kind of getting in with the Pretty Boys, and Dane does not like that. Dane wants to get Dane's way, and this is not Dane's way. Sam, do you remember? Her hips were like up to here on you, Adam. You need to remember that when she jumped in your arms. He's very anti-Sam, and he's very mad at Adam for succeeding in bringing Sam into this thing. And so he's really starting to look at potentially taking a shot here if Adam happens to go up. I don't think he would take the shot himself, but if Esty or even Damien were to win an HOH, I could see Dane getting into their ear being like, you know who might be a better pawn next to Adam is Mark or Anthony. I mean, really what he wants is Sam out, but still, the point is he wants Adam up on the block. He wants Adam hurt. If Sam wins the veto, I could definitely see him wanting to take Adam out here. This is really starting to heat up at this point, Brent.
Yep, and I'm excited about it. Dane likes to be a big man on campus, and I feel like Adam does too in many ways. Dane often behaves like a spoiled child within the house if he doesn't get his way.
Pillow smash.
I know, right? And again, need we remind ourselves, Melissa, that Kiki did not use any of that. She witnessed all of that, him smashing the pillows and being pissed that Sam won HOH. Did she relay any of that to Sam whatsoever? Nah, can't be bothered to. Why? Because it's Dane, and I don't want to get Dane in trouble. Just infuriating to me, never confronting the fact that Dane might have something else beyond what he's showing. What he's showing to the house is that he's in some sort of a relationship group, trio, whatever you want to call it, with Kiki and Esty. That's what he's showing the house. But in order to really see the reality of the situation, she has to confront the fact that he is in something that he's not showing to the rest of the house. And of course, that's the Boys Alliance.
Yeah, I just feel like, I mean, okay, I understand in the beginning being like, yeah, he's loyal to us. What's the problem? But then when you're given information from other people about how he is in this very specific alliance, Boys Alliance, and given very specific information about it, I would at least start to question it. I'd at least
they have.
They have. Sure. I just feel like it's all fake. I just feel like
here's the thing.
They talk to each other and then the next minute they're over it.
I mean, that's been their game the whole season, though.
Yeah, but I mean, Melissa, we don't even know what the truth is. I don't even know what the truth is. I don't know that Dane wouldn't be willing to side with Esty over the boys. Like, I think he actually would want to keep her. I don't think he would let that stand. So like I can see it a little bit from their point of view where they're like, I feel like Kiki should be more suspect than Esty, but they look at it and they're like, well, he may be in, he may have something on the side or something else. He may have something else beyond what we are, but doesn't everybody? Like, maybe he's protecting us with that. So I can see where they're coming from on that.
Yeah, I mean, possibly for Esty, but like what you were just saying, for Kiki, I mean,
well, yeah,
best case scenario, he doesn't have a side alliance, but then he's mostly loyal to Esty and would kick Kiki out in a heartbeat, like he's currently doing.
I think what it is that Esty is not going against this because Dane kind of does have her back, and even Kiki has even said, like, it's not against you, it's against me, that Dane wants to take you to the final two, and so if I'm out of the way, that makes it easier. And from Esty's point of view, it's like, oh, that would suck for you if that were true. But it's not true, because Esty doesn't have a lot of motivation to be like, well, if that's the case, then we gotta go after Dane. But so Esty is like, well, but I like Dane and he's protecting me and I don't want to make Dane unhappy. From Kiki's point of view, I think it's, but I like Esty and I don't want to make Esty unhappy because this is a good position for Esty and I don't want to screw that up for her. And so she's kind of like just floundering around,
I will say this,
helpless.
That, coming into this season, we laughed. I know I did when I heard Adam say that he wanted to do a brigade style alliance. And I've always looked at the brigade alliance and thought, why haven't more people replicated that or tried to replicate that? Because I really think it's ingenious to have a cohesive small group that works together, that has little appendages with other people in side relationships where it looks like that's your main alliance, but that's not your real alliance. And so they've just done a really great job. I feel like I know that I've yelled at Hoffman online and been like, this is all your fault. But in reality, it's really hard to pull off. And I just feel like at this point, I'm really amazed at how well they're doing, Taryn. They're just killing it. And I don't see any four of them. We're about to be down to 9 people. Thank God it's a jury of 7. Thank you. And we're going to still have all 4 pretty boys still in the house. And I don't see any one of them going home at final 9. They're probably going to make it to the final 8. And it's just really like I'm evolving to where Taryn I think is, where like I'm just looking at the amazement of it all and I'm going like, that's so cool. Like kind of looking back on like Derek's game when I hated it at the time during 16 and then I grew to love it. Like it wasn't it wasn't as entertaining as I wanted it to be, but I'm so amazed at the awesomeness of it. So that's kind of where I'm at with the boys right now. Sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, I enjoyed season 16. I think this season has been more enjoyable than season 16 was as a whole, because season 16 did get to a point where it got very repetitive and nothing was really happening in the house. But so far, so much has been happening. That's what's really been interesting me. I can turn the feeds on at almost any point in the day and stuff is happening. That's pretty rare in Big Brother, and I'm really enjoying it.
There's more than one alpha. That's the thing. Because in 19 with Paul, 1 alpha, 16, 1 alpha with Derek. Seasons with 1 alpha are no fun. Even All-Stars, Boston Rob, again, not really all that fun because you're just frustrated and you want people to wake up. But this season, there's not really just 1. There's 3 in my eyes, maybe 3.5 if you count Mark, but I don't really. Like, I feel like Dane and Anthony and Adam all have a lot of currency within the game, and I feel like they would not back down from a fight. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
And so, I mean, it's definitely possible that that toward the end of the game, maybe the gameplay does slow down. Maybe the pretty boys just start to completely steamroll, and there's nothing happening on the feeds anymore. At that point, I'll be like, okay, this is boring. But for right now, things are still pretty crazy, exciting, and interesting. And if they continue to be, I think that's going to be great. I think that we're just going to continue to get stuff, and until we stop getting stuff, I'm going to be excited for it. So let's talk about the state of the house real quick here. Should be a fairly quick one, because at this point, it's really just the Pretty Boys. And that's why things, I think, are about to get interesting. Because the Pretty Boys consist of Adam, Dane, Anthony, and Mark, but their influence is what makes up the rest of the house, really the whole house. You've got Adam, Sam, and Kira as a group. And in that group, you've got Adam and Sam as a thing, and you've got Sam and Kira as a thing. You've got Dane, Kiki, and Esty as a group, and in that group, you've got Dane and Kiki and Esty and Kiki as the two pairs within that threesome. And then you've got Anthony, Cory, and a little bit Damien, but it's mostly Anthony and Cory and Damien. So that's really, it's very symmetrical in that way. And really the only pairings of people, the only groupings of people that are not somehow infiltrated by the Pretty Boys are Sam and Kira as a duo, Esty and Kiki as a duo, who are about to be broken up, and Cory and Damien, who are the most under the radar duo that people don't really see their relationship at the moment, which makes it probably the most dangerous for the Pretty Boys. And interestingly enough, if you didn't notice, Mark is really not anywhere in this. And I actually think that's a good thing for him, because who's going to target Mark? He's got no one.
As long as people are aware of that. And I think they are at this point within the game. I don't think that anybody views Mark as, being tied with anybody. So if he's sitting there on the block, I mean, the bad thing is his social game really kind of sucks, and he doesn't have any great bonds with people. But on the other hand, he doesn't have any great bonds with people, and people have to see that.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the stock watch. Let's do it. You guys ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I got my paddle here.
All right, we're going to move over to here. All right, let's do this. We're going to start with Sam, who is our current HOH. Last week, Sam received an average of 3. I gave her a 3. Brent gave her a 2. Melissa and the audience both gave her 4s. So where do we land on Sam this week? Brent, you were the lowest on her last week. Where do you stand now?
Marginally better. I think she's improved her lot within the house. I gave her a 2 last week, and so I'm going to move up to a 3. I do not feel wonderful about her game. I think there's still people that want her out, or if they don't want her out, I think that they soon will. I think, Anthony obviously has simmered a little bit on the Sam getting rid of Sam thing, but I do feel like that it could come back with a vengeance at any time. And if he found out that she was even thinking about nominating him, I do feel like that he would be really angry about it. So look, I'm looking at her position within the game. It's on the outside of most anything. The only person that she is really tied with besides Adam is Kira, and Kira can't win crap. So I don't feel like there's much protection within the game for her. And as long as Dane continues to have such a hard on about her, I feel like that her life within the game is not going to be very long. So it's a 3.
Yes, and I apologize for not setting this up. If you are new to the podcast, this is the segment where we go into each player's game individually and give them a rating out of 10. Earlier today, I released a form for the audience to also do that as well. So we are going to combine all 4 ratings, myself, Melissa, and Brent, with the audience and get a total average for the game they're playing, rating it out of 10 for this week. So Sam is going to start with a 3 here. Melissa, what are your thoughts on Sam this week?
So Sam's kind of been up and down for me this week because she won HOH. I felt really good about her. And then she made her nominations and I felt less good about her. But at the same time, I recognize why she's making those nominations. And she's also found or tried to make inroads with other people and with, and really tried to get in with the Pretty Boys, and it was kind of successful. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future, but I do think she went up, then down, then up a little, and so I'm just going to stick with my 4.
All right. It's a tough one for Sam. Last week, I felt very confident with the 3. I feel like she was the most likely person to leave in the double, but Adam won the double. Then I felt like she was the most likely person to leave this week, but she won this week. And now she's probably one of the more likely people to leave next week, but I do feel like it's not quite as bad as it used to be. But still, she's in a lot of danger. I feel like if she can make it through one more week. If she can squeeze by just one more time, she might last long enough for the civil war in the Pretty Boys to happen, at which point she's in a much better spot. But right now, it's like that 1 week, you can get so close and be so far away. So it's very difficult here between a 3 and a 4, anticipating a rise, but I also don't want to give her highest rating right before she actually finally leaves. So I don't know. I'm gonna say, you know what? I do feel like her position in the game has improved. I'm going to go up from a 3 to a 4 for Sam. So there you go. Sam with a 4 from me. And the audience is also going to go with a 4 for Sam, which is going to bring her up from a 3. So if you bought into Sam, you just made some money. I hope Brent didn't do that. So let's talk about Mark. Mark last week had a 6 average rating. Brent and Melissa both gave him 6s. I gave him a 5, as did the audience. So, Brent, let's start with you on Mark.
This is a tougher one for me. This is, I pre-did all of these ratings, and he's the only one that I didn't write down anything for because I was still sort of like rolling it around in my head a little bit. Like on the pro side, Melissa, he's done a pretty shitty job at connecting with people. And I feel like he maybe isn't even aware of that. On the other hand, he's probably going to survive the block this week. But on the other hand, he hasn't really done a whole lot to change his fate. I feel like that other people around him have caused, like Anthony, like putting something in people's ear, or Dane talking to somebody, has caused Sam to make these nominations and to target Kiki. So I don't really feel like Mark has done a lot of that. On the other hand, I've been saying that all day about Mark. It's like on this end, he is good at talking with people when he actually tries. Like his conversation that I saw with Kira, where he was like, trying to bond with them on a level within the game, was really good work. And I was pleased to see it, and sort of flabbergasted that he would even take the time, because, if you ever listen to Taryn's updates or anything we talk about on the episode, Mark's not there a lot. So I was really glad to see him putting in some actual good work with Kira. And then his butt kissing with Adam was really a thing to behold. He said something to Adam where he said, and I'll take Adam to task when I grade him, but he said to Adam, I just want you to win the game, and I just want to be there to help you do it. But if I was Adam, no matter how big my ego was, my antenna would go up. I would have to know that is complete bullshit. So now you have to reevaluate everything he said to you during this conversation. But yet, Adam, to all appearances otherwise, Adam has not seen that. So
my read on it was he was trying to stay like, I'm suspicious, but he just couldn't help but just smile and be like, oh. Yeah.
Okay. Well, at least he's. I wasn't even getting any suspicion on his part. I thought he was just trying to be humble. Always stay humble. Yeah. Anyway, so I gave Mark a 6 last week, and I do feel good about his trajectory within the game. But I am more suspect than I was, even though I don't think he's ever going to be evicted. So I maybe I'm being a little unfair, but I'm going to go down to a 5.
All right, Melissa. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go down to a 5 as well, because, there's always the possibility he could leave this week. It's unlikely, but there is a possibility he is on the block. And, I don't think he's done very well at improving his position in the game. It's been made pretty clear that he's probably he's expendable to the Pretty Boys. He's basically expendable, but at the same time, he still is in the Pretty Boys, so he is in a better position than some other people in the house. So I don't feel terrible about him, but I don't feel great about him either, and that's why I'm going down this week, especially because he is on the block and there is always a chance.
Yeah. Yes. Taryn, before you give your rating, Nam Nguyen in the chat says Mark is a talker, and for every moment of charm, there are 10 moments of I am smarter than you.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that pretty much sums it up of why I'm like on this hand. Yeah, go ahead.
I will say, last week I was torn between a 5 and a 6, and this week I again was kind of torn. I almost want to go up on Mark, even though earlier in the week I thought he's in a kind of a dangerous position maybe, and that he might go home, and that's not great, so I'm probably going to go down. But at this point in the week, it does look like he's pretty solidly going to stay. And again, when he does, I mean, he might be expendable to the Pretty Boys, but that's what makes him the safest Pretty Boy if they ever go to war, because Adam's not going to be taking a shot at Mark, Anthony's not taking a shot at Mark, Dane's not taking a shot at Mark is the safest person there. As soon as they start going to war, Mark is just sitting pretty, and I also feel like he is, for as condescending as he can be, I feel like he can kind of present himself as the anti-Pretty Boy vote if he's sitting there with another guy, or if he gets there with Kira. I think he can also beat Kira, which might be his plan. So I really do kind of feel like Mark, I think that Mark might go up. He's kind of like a Kira in that regard, that I feel like every week he stays, his price might start going up and up. But for right now, honestly, just for the reason that he still could theoretically go home, if depending on Kira's power here, they currently want Mark to stay, but if they have the power to flip that, then it doesn't need to be votes that flips, it just needs to be Kira that flips, and that's a much riskier proposition than usual. So I am going to stick with my 5 here, but again, watch out for Mark. I do feel like this is one that still has potential to go up. The audience, though, not as high on Mark as they were last week. The audience went down to a 4, probably because he's in danger this week. But again, I feel like this is probably something that may be going up in the future. People saying I'm overrating Mark, even though I gave him the same rating as everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, like you're with us, and I feel like that you guys have to take into consideration the fact that even though Mark isn't great, like we're watching him in real time, and it's not great. Okay, there are things to really dislike about his game. He comes off as incredibly condescending. Chelsea wasn't lying about that. He is a bit of a dick sometimes, but I just don't see his position within the game as being bad. He himself is not great. His social game sucks, but strategically he's pretty sound, and his position within the game is really awesome. So I do feel like it ultimately shakes out to a 5.
There you go. So let's talk about Kiki on the block, looking like she will be heading home this week.
Now, can I go first? If you guys don't give her a 1, I am so coming for you. Like, this crazy girl had the power to change her fate, and she just flipped off, apparently, the one person in the house who happens to hold what could be a coup d'etat. At the very least, it's some sort of veto. At the very least, it's something that could save her. And Kira had told Kiki previously, hey, things look like they're going south. I'll be willing to use this on you, but don't tell anybody about that. And what did you do? I'm so mad at her right now. And if that wasn't bad enough, previously she could have gotten the damn thing for herself. And she did absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
She took herself out of it.
She had so many chances.
So terrible. She's so bad at this game. Like as much as I ranted about Eddie, he was at least good at the game when he tried to be. He just didn't do it very often. She's actively terrible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, and she didn't even when, like you said, she didn't even try for that power. But not only that, she even made a speech that was like, I am bowing out. Why not just try for it or stay in or let someone else suggest it be you or anything like that? Instead, she's like, no, I don't want it. It's like, what is wrong with you? You had so many chances. She had so many chances.
I hope they replay that to her when she's
to save herself this week. Yeah. Now, 1. Go ahead, Taryn.
All right.
Now, wait. Before you give your rating, because I feel like you're I don't know. I want to save my 1 for the people who are really terrible. Taryn, she knew that she could be saved by Kira, and she flipped her off. She rolled her eyes.
Don't do this to us, Taryn.
I hear you. I think her
and the reason I'm
gameplay...
pissy about this is because if you give her a 1, she's going to be a 1. And if you don't give her a 1, then I know the audience didn't give her a 1 because the audience likes her, and that's the reason why. So you do what you want.
Here's do what you want, but you better make the right choice.
Yeah, this is Anthony talking.
Here's my dilemma with Kiki is that I do think that her gameplay this week, like her campaigning, just the way that she's operated, it is a 1. It really is. It's as bad as you can get. She is really the cause of her own demise here. But she might stay with this twist. And if she does stay, I don't think she is incapable of winning the game. But the thing that I just realized is that she might stay with a twist. And so if you need a twist to save you, you deserve a 1. So I'm going to give her a 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the audience could have
$1
given her,
round.
I just realized the audience could have given her a 3, and then she might actually still be a 2. So go ahead. What did the audience do?
All right. Well, it actually is a very close one here. Ultimately, the audience did go with a 2 for Kiki. Barely managed the 2.
We did it.
There you go.
One. Yes, it's really hard to do that because the audience can't go above a 2, otherwise it'll average out to like 0.5, which we always round up. So I feel like if you get a majority of 1s from the panel, it shouldn't matter that like somebody else, like the audience, like gives out, like, because they could have given her like an 8 or something because they like her or something.
Yeah.
And as long as I feel like if 3 people get a 1, I feel like you're a 1 no matter what happens. Anyway, go ahead, Tier.
Yes. So with that is the first one we've had since the new rules. That means that if you hold any Kiki stock, she is as good as out at this point, unless she stays in the game and the price goes back up. This is stock that you've lost. You can no longer sell Kiki anymore. So
yeah, I don't know if people knew that or not. That was kind of why I was mad about it. I was like, I wanted to make sure she had a 1. So anybody that was dumb enough to buy her, and I feel like you had noticed that her game was in trouble. Anybody that was actually dumb enough to buy Kiki stock really gets punished for it. You can't sell it. It's at $1. Girl, buy it.
All right. Well, it looks like there was some 57 shares of Kira out in the wild right now. $228 of value of Kiki. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So
I think I have one.
there you go.
I don't know.
And basically,
we'll let you know.
In case you're wondering, like the reason for that rule is that it doesn't go down to 0. So, basically you can buy one. You could buy $1 shares and have no chance of losing it unless you know that unless there's a chance that they actually went home. So, in order to create some real stakes, you gotta freeze those 1s. All right. So let's talk about Adam. Adam is up next here. I have consistently been higher on the panel for Adam than the rest of you and the audience. I gave him a 6 last week. The 3 of you gave him 4s, which 3 of you, meaning Brent, Melissa, and the audience, which averaged him out to 5. This week, I am going to continue to go up on Adam. I like what I saw this week. I like his positioning. I think the fact that Sam is still in the house and now is in jury means that things are looking much brighter for him in terms of the final 2 vote. In terms of his positioning in the house, Sam is still a shield in front of him. No matter how much Dane is mad at Adam, he will still get Sam out first, and that's great for Adam. He also has Kira in the house with this blood veto. If this lasts any longer, that's great for Adam because people are going to go for the guys that aren't him. His people are the strongest people right now in terms of winning competitions and having powers. That's great for Adam. There's a lot of things that are good for Adam. He now has Sam kind of on board, working with him in the position where he is safe and she is not. Just a lot of things. And he did good work to make that happen. He's done decent work with other people. And there's even starting to be a little bit here cracks within the other pretty boys. I think that Mark, too, if he betrays the pretty boys, I think Adam is the person that he doesn't want to target. He wants Mark out, he wants Dane out, and I think Anthony would be the other person that he would go after, where Adam is the person he might keep. So I feel like Adam is one of the better positioned people of the pretty boys. He's also doing pretty well in the game. So I went up from a 6 to a 7 this week, but we're going to have to see if I'm still much higher on Adam than the rest of you. So, Melissa, where do you stand on Adam?
I went up on Adam as well. I think he's put himself in a pretty good position. And not only that, this could have been a bad week for Adam because Sam's HOH, her initial thought was to target 2 boys. And that would have been really bad for Adam. And the fact that he was able to convince Sam not to do that and also make her believe that this is a great move for her and that this is like kind of her idea and that this is still her HOH. And he's kind of just pushing her in that direction is really good. and he's able to accomplish what he wants to accomplish this week. So I feel like he did really well. And like you said, the fact that Sam is now in jury is a good sign. It's not great that Dane is targeting him, and it seems like even though Sam is Dane's first target, I feel like if he had the option, he would take out Adam and get people to take out Adam as well. So I feel better about him. I don't feel amazing about him, but I do feel like he's in a better position than Mark, and I gave Mark a 5. So I'm going to give Adam a 6.
All right, Brent.
Yeah, I gave him a 6 as well. And I feel, and I gave him a 4 last week, but I do feel like he's done a really great job. The thing is this though, he's pretty dumb. And like he doesn't realize when people are plotting against him and when people are mad at him. I think he's just kind of a dumbass within the Big Brother game. I don't mean to go that hard on him, but it feels to me like he at any moment could be outplayed by somebody else. And I don't know that I feel like people could just run circles around him. So his positioning within the game is really sound. And right now, considering where people are and the nature of the structure of the house, with everybody having their side pieces and whatnot, his positioning is really, really good, but I don't have much faith in him. So it's a 6. So I got, like, positioning wise, I'd like to give him a higher score, but I don't trust him.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Fair point. The audience does agree with the two of you. Once again, the audience also up 2 points on Adam this week, and they are going to give Adam a 6, leaving him with an average of 6 for the week. Adam on the rise here. At both Adam and Sam. I think that's fair for both of them to go up 1 point each. Let's talk about Esty. Esty, I gave her a 5 last week. Brent gave her a 4. Melissa and the audience both gave her 5s. Brent, let's start with you. How do you feel about Esty this week?
I feel pretty bad, but I don't feel bad about her positioning within the game. So I actually gave her a 5, and I hate giving out 5s. I feel like it's like such a pussy move, but her positioning within the game is actually improving now that Kiki is likely to be leaving, has Dane beside her. I don't feel like Dane will let her go. She's actually really good. Like when I saw her, like I had missed this because I was working, and then I was talking to a friend of mine, and they were like, Esty put in some really, really good work with Sam. And I was like, of course, it was the fake Esty, not the real Esty. So that part is discouraging. But the fact that she has the capability within her to do so makes me feel pretty good about it. So it's a 5.
All right, I'm with you. I'm sticking with my 5. I think that there are things that I learned about Esty this week that make me more optimistic about her future in the game, her capability to sway people, to lie when she needs to, and I think that once Kiki is gone, that's really going to open her up socially. Just imagine if the Esty we saw convincing Sam, convincing Kira to go against the guys, if that was just unleashed all the time and she was talking to people like Cory and Damien, I think that something could actually happen, maybe not against Dane, but something could happen, especially, again, if this Pretty Boys civil war kind of starts to happen. I feel like she is positioned well. I think that Cory is a much bigger competition threat. I think that Damien is less influenced and a bigger competition threat. Sam is a bigger competition threat. There are a lot of reasons to keep Esty around if you're the Pretty Boys. So I do think that Esty is okay here. As Stacked points out in the chat, she may be in trouble with the blood veto, depending on what happens. Esty is one of the possibilities that Sam might use as a renom. It was Esty or Damien as the two possibilities that she might put up on the block if the blood veto has to be used or whatever it is. But I don't think she would leave, so I think she's okay in that sense. And I feel like I really genuinely don't feel like much has changed. Before this week, I already knew she wasn't going to turn on Dane. It's not like, and I gave her a 5 then, so it's not like I'm really changing my mind here. In fact, if anything, I'm more confident in her game ability from what I saw with Sam, and her position in the game has improved. So if anything, I should go up, but I'm not quite ready to go that far. So I'm going to stick with my 5. Melissa, what do you think?
I am going to. I want to give her like a 2, but I'm going to be fair about this, and I'm going to give her.
You can give her a 2 if you want.
No, I'm going to give her a 4 because her position in the house is not so bad. I'm disappointed that she's just totally willing to lose an ally like that, with Kiki being, Kiki's one of her, I guess, number 1 or number 2 allies, and she's just willing to get rid of her. and when there could have been many moves to have made this week, and instead they chose not to. And I just feel like Essie is just letting the game take her wherever, well, letting Dane take her wherever the game takes her. And I just don't think that I don't think that her brain is on right for this game right now. Like, I just feel like she has the ability. She's great. Except for she's not thinking straight, and I don't know why. And maybe it's because like she's just like in love with Dane. I don't know. But like I said earlier, like I just don't get it. So maybe there's something I'm missing. But I think she's so good when she's lying, when she's not telling the truth. She's like just right on point, and it's frustrating to see. So I'm giving her a 4 this week.
There you go. The audience had another very close vote here between a 3 and a 4. Ultimately, though, this is going to go in the direction of a 4 for Esty, not a 3, which is going to average her out at 5. It's going to go nowhere, the stock price for Esty. It's going to stay there at 5. So, well, I know that's going to disappoint some people.
I'm laughing at Nam in the chat. He says she's teethmatized.
He doesn't have a tooth. All right,
yeah, that's gonna be our hashtag.
Let's talk about Kira. Kira, I gave them a 3. Brent gave them a 4. Melissa a 3. The audience a 2 last week. So it'll be interesting to see where Kira has gone. Brent, let's start with you. You were the highest on them last week. How do you feel about them now?
Every week that Kira stays in the house, unless something goes badly, I feel like I'm going to go up. So I was a 4 last week. I'm going to give them a 5. I feel moderately great. Moderately great. I don't know. Sometimes I just say things on a podcast. It makes no effing sense.
I feel moderately amazing.
I feel moderately amazing right now. I'm going to give them a 5 because of the fact that they're actively out there trying to play the game. Now, I take Terrence's point during his updates that the more they try to play the game, the more they could endanger themselves. But on the other hand, like, we don't want people who do nothing in the house. And like, in order to get to the end and win, I feel like you have to do a little bit of something. You have to have a little bit of agency within the game. So I feel good about their position within the game. Again, who's coming for them? No one. I feel like people are always going to go for Sam over Kira. Now, the bad news is that they could be put on the block to flush out this power, and whenever you are on the block, you could be in trouble. On the other hand, it sounds like the power is probably going to be done after this week. So if the power is done after this week, I really feel like Kira is in no danger whatsoever. Could be a block star, but never the true evictee. And I love the fact that they had as much gumption as they did to just go in there and be like, I want the power. Makes sense for me to have it, and here's why. So yeah, I'll give them a 5.
All right, Melissa.
Yeah, I feel better about Kira this week. I love that they just went in there and actually fought for that power. I don't understand why, and no one else fought for it. I mean, okay, to be fair, like, and part of my reasoning for Essie's not being so as low was because she was the only other person who did fight for it. So I did appreciate that. But I definitely appreciated the fact that Kira was like, I want it. I want it. It makes sense for me to have it. And the fact that it does seem like they're really trying this week they think that this is what they need to be doing. They think that this is the right strategy. Maybe it's not, but they are certain that this is what's going on. And I do appreciate the fact that they're trying to break up the men's alliance. I mean, they think that they've cracked it, but they haven't. But at least they know that they have to crack it and are actively trying to crack it. So we've got that at least. So, you know, I feel like as long as, like you guys said, as long as Kira stays longer in the game, the more likely they are to become a final 2 GOAT. So that's, you know,
or final 2 winner.
Oh, well, yeah, but I mean, like someone who they would just bring along because they'd be like, I don't want to get rid of them. So I'm going to give them a 4.
All right. I'm with you, Melissa. I like their positioning better this week. I think, again, just like Brent, the longer they stay in the game, the better their chances are. I also like the fact that they got this power. Usually what happens is whether you earned it or not, and in this case, they kind of did earn it in a way, having a power in the game just kind of makes people think that you did better in the game, no matter how it plays out.
Yep.
So that helps them in the final two a little bit. Now, the major problem I have with them is that I still can't see them winning in the final two right now, but final twos are very unpredictable sometimes, so you can't always go just by that. But I feel like they're in a similar spot to SD in the sense that that they're probably not going to be targeted for a really long time. Dane and Anthony talked about potentially keeping Kira all the way down to the final five. I could see Mark trying to take them down to the final two if he has the ability to. The main difference is that I have more faith in SD's ability to play the game and convince people, and I have much more faith in SD to win the game if she makes it to the final two. So ultimately, I'm going to keep Kira at a 4, but that is up from a 3 last week, and the audience is also at a 4, up from a 2 last week. So that is going to put Kira at a 4. So Kira prices have risen, gone up. All right. Let's talk about Dane. Dane.
I'm sorry. Can we just stop real quick? I just wanted to give a shout out to Kira because I've been really hard on them on this podcast. Like their game has been shit. I haven't liked what they've been doing, and socially, I feel like that's also been shit because they couldn't get their head out of their ass when they were too consumed with Chelsea. On the other hand, I have been in love once or twice in my life, and I know, or have a little puppy crush on somebody, and I know how it can affect you. And so I am really, really glad to see that the Kira that we saw preseason is a little bit more of what we're seeing right now. And I'm actually really glad that Kiki is being evicted also, because I thought for a second that Kiki was going to become the new Chelsea, and it looks like she's also on her way out. So, Kira, you're just going to play the game by yourself. And I feel like that's the best thing for you. Okay, go ahead with Dane.
All right, so let's talk about Dane. Dane last week got straight 7s from us and a 6 from the audience. I will say myself, I thought Dane was on the rise. I thought I might give him an 8 this week, but from what I saw here, I was right last week. Anthony an 8, Dane a 7. I think that Anthony is playing better than Dane. Dane is winning the competitions. He's more of a threat. And this week, he's losing a number. Anthony beat him in this fight, and he was not happy about it. And when Dane faces adversity, he really gets upset. Now, we pointed out this morning, he does a great job of hiding that. He does a great job of making sure nobody sees how upset he is. But I think that Anthony is really just proving to have one foot ahead of Dane in pretty much any scenario, and Dane remains a much bigger target. So I'm going to keep Dane at a 7 for now. I still feel very good about him. Something that we should have pointed out with Adam is that we've talked about this a little bit, but Adam has won 4 out of the 6 competitions he's played in. Dane has won 2 out of the 4 competitions that he's played in, but it's important to note that Dane has not played in any vetoes. So Adam has played in 2 vetoes. He's won both of those vetoes. He's won 2 out of 4 HOH competitions. Dane has also won 2 out of 4 HOH competitions and just hasn't competed in any vetoes. So if we are comparing the two of them in competitions, I feel like Dane might be ultimately the person who turns out to be a better competitor. I think that Dane has the mental competitions more on lock than Adam does. I think Adam might have gotten a little bit lucky in that double eviction. So that's neither here nor there. But I do think that Dane is going to be a threat going down the line with the competitions, and he still has a lot of social capital in the house. He still has a lot of people that like him a lot. It's really just Anthony that he needs to be worried about. But right now, Anthony is decently loyal to him, so he doesn't need to worry about it too much. So I'm keeping Dane here at a 7. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I'm going to keep him at a 7. I agree with everything you said, and I feel like even though he is losing a number this week with Kiki, I feel like it ultimately could be better for him because he now will have SD's full attention. So I also feel like that while it's not great to lose a number, at the same time, your ally is now going to be totally invested in you rather than having have to split their loyalties. So I guess in the long run, it's not so terrible because it gives him SD. But yeah.
I don't feel great about him. I gave him a 4.
Whoa.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I feel like he's a bit of a spaz, and I feel like he can lose his temper easily. And I also feel like that there are people within the house who maybe they don't want him out now, but I like his here's the thing. His position to me is very suspect right now. And he's constantly being outplayed by Anthony. And Anthony just happens to be the person who has the most power within the house right now. So of the pretty boys, I feel the least good about Dane. Again, lost a number this week, didn't really put up a fight about it. And like, it's crazy to me that he didn't put up a fight about it, because with him and Esty and Kiki within the house at 9, like fast forward, like if he had gotten past this week with them, that's 3 people in the house at 9 when jury starts. That is a tough combination to overcome, and yet he basically put up no fight for whatsoever. So I'm trying to see it your way, but I do feel like he's very comp dependent. On the other hand, he has been good at the comps. So, but I've learned in the past that it's never good. Like it's like Steve Moses always says, if you need a comp to survive, I do feel like you're probably playing a subpar game. And I do feel like he's going to need comps to survive. So I may be a little low on him, but I also don't love the fact that he like spazzed out in front of Kiki and Esty and gave them total ammunition to save themselves. If they were any players whatsoever, they would have gone to Sam and sold him out, but they didn't do so. But I'm not going to give him a blank check to do whatever he was just because everyone else around him is so terrible. So I gave him a 4.
All right, well, there you go. 4 from Brent. The audience stuck with their 6 from last week, which I think is going to put Dane at a 6. I think Brent just took that stock down a dollar. So
sorry.
If you own any Dane shares, then thank Brent.
Hey, listen, I feel like that. Okay, we can't change the rules for this week, but I do feel like moving forward, if there's 4 of us, us 3 in the audience. If 3 of us give somebody a score, I do feel like that the median should reign. Like one person shouldn't be able to throw things off. But the fact that the audience went down with me,
they stayed at 6.
Huh?
They were 6 last week.
Well, they're down from where you guys are. The fact that the audience doesn't agree with Taryn and Melissa makes me feel much better and bailed me out. So we can talk about it moving forward, but I do feel like the median's probably better than the mean if 3 of us are in agreement. So there you go.
All right, well, let's move on to Anthony. Last week, I gave him an 8, and honestly, I feel even more confident in that number at this point. I even considered going up to a 9. I just don't feel like he's worthy of that yet. I do think it might be in his range, but for now, I'm capping him out at an 8. I think he's playing about as well as he can in the house, given that he doesn't know the game that well. And he's really just, the work he put in this week has been very impressive. I think he's in the best spot in the house. He's controlled every single week, even to the point where he just will play with the vote for fun and just be like, hey, I could flip it over here if I wanted to, or I could do this. And this week he's done exactly what he needed to do to make things work. He's really, something that I think is important to note here is that Anthony should be the person going home this week. He did not have a good relationship with Sam coming into the week. He was the person that should have been put on the block next to Dane and should have left next to Dane. And if that didn't happen, he should have been put on the block as a replacement nominee or as a pawn. But for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And that reason is his social game is good enough. He had been working on Kira, and Kira stumped for him. They were like, you can't do Anthony. I feel good about Anthony. And that connection also helped him defang this women's thing by convincing them that there was a crack in the guys' alliance. He then was able to protect his pieces on the board and make sure that Dane's pieces were the ones that got taken out. He also has softened Adam up on him and is now singing the right tune to Adam. Oh yeah, we can work with Sam. Eventually we'll have to take her out, but it'll work. We can make this happen. So we've talked a lot about Anthony's flaws, and they still exist. But from what he's doing in the house right now, I think he's definitely playing the best game, and he gets an 8 from me. Brent and Melissa, you both gave him 7s last week. I'm curious to know if you have gone up with me or if there's a surprise 4 in the works. So we'll start with you, Melissa. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you on this one, and I'm gonna give him an 8 as well, because I do think that he is playing a better game or a cleaner game than Dane is right now, and so I feel better about him. And the fact that Dane is losing. Dane lost this week, essentially. Like he lost one of his members, whereas Anthony was going to lose a member and then kept her. So I'm gonna give him an 8.
Brent?
Yeah, I am so pleased to see this guy. Just to state the obvious, the reality shows don't cast a ton of people of color, and it's really, really awesome to see somebody who is a man of color and who's running circles around these people. Hey, tip to the producers: if you want to see more people like this, maybe cast more people of color. Maybe that would be cool. Okay. Anyway, Anthony is he continues to defy my expectations. I will say that it is true. I see Doom in the chat ranting about the fact that Anthony wasn't initially aware about the backdoor Cory plan. All true, but that's what having good allies are for, honey. Like, that's why you have that's why you're not playing the game by yourself. That's why you have other people to let you know. And he was able to effectively save Cory and put a stop to that. And not only that, Doom, no pun intended, somebody else's own allies. So I feel like you have to give it up to him in this game. My one concern about him is I don't know that there's anybody that would actually take him to the final two. I know that Dane has a final two with him, and it has even told the camera, I think, I'm misremembering that he would take Anthony to the final two. But when it gets actually time to it, is he really going to want to sit next to Anthony? I mean, Dane's spazzy enough he could actually do something like that. So maybe that is Anthony's in. Also, his relationship with Cory, it cannot be overstated. Anthony, I'm talking about, because I feel like that's going to pay dividends in the end. I still believe in her as well. So I'll give Anthony an 8, and I gave him a 7 last week.
There you go. The audience gave Anthony a 5 last week, but they have
this week. I was like, what?
They have changed their tune. Last week, Dane and Damien were the highest rated from the audience with 6s. This week, that has changed. Anthony got a 7 from the audience this week, up 2 points from last week. They're finally on board a little bit with what we're seeing. So that will leave Anthony with an 8, the highest price I think anyone has gotten since Big Brother 20. There you go.
People in the chat are saying like, "Oh, he's not worthy." What do you mean he's not worthy of that? I mean, like,
look at what he's doing.
I gave Angela a freaking 8 at one point. I mean, like, come on. Like,
Bailey got an 8.
Give me a break. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Cory. Cory last week got a 4. I gave her a 4. Brent a 3. Melissa a 4. The audience a 5. So interesting to see where Cory might go from here. Brent, you were the lowest on Cory. How do you feel about her now?
Sorry, I wanted to look back. Oh, I gave Cory a 3. Yes, I feel moderately great about. Again, stop saying that, Brent. I feel maybe that could be our hashtag this time.
Moderately great.
Here's the thing. Okay, what I'm trying to say when I say moderately great is I feel great about their position within the game, but I don't feel necessarily great about the game that they're currently playing. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me hit send here. I was trying to talk to somebody in the chat. The one thing about Cory is that she doesn't have any real control over the game. Like, her best decision in the game was hooking up with Anthony, who just happens to be running circles around everybody else. So that's good. She was in danger and he saved her. On the other hand, she didn't do anything herself. So I feel like that indicts her ability a little bit. Her connection with Damien is something positive, but on the other hand, I feel like Damien's probably on his way out next week based on who everybody is protecting. So I don't know that that's good for her necessarily, but I'm obviously up from what did I give her? A 3. Gosh, I was so terrible last week. I'm giving her a 5 this week, and it can only go up from here. I feel good about Cory.
All right, Melissa, what do you think?
I'm going to keep my rating of Cory the same at a 4. I feel like she was about to be backdoored this week, and then through no work of her own or no doing of her own, she was not backdoored. And it was only because Anthony was looking out for her and was able to pull this off that she didn't get backdoored. But she was an easy target for this week, where a lot of people were just like, yeah, just backdoor Cory, no problem. Which also, like, why backdoor Cory? Like, she's not even doing anything. Why is she someone who needs to be backdoored? But whatever. The point is that I'm keeping her at a 4 because I don't think that she's doing terribly, but I also don't think she's doing anything. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're totally right. And I think that I was prepared earlier in the week to come in here and give Cory a 3, or at least, or maybe at most, I should say, because it was looking like she was probably going to go home at one point. And there's really nothing that she did to prevent that. And I feel like there's nothing that she is continuing to do to prevent that. And so I don't feel great about her overall. I'm sticking with my 4 because because I do think that, she might be able to win some competitions. That's good. I think the fact that she is under Anthony's wing is the best thing she has going for her right now. So, I think that of the people who are playing the game, outside of the pretty boys, she's probably one of the better positioned, but those people are all at 4 or 5, and I think that she's one of the bigger targets of those people. So I'm gonna go with a 4 here for Cory. The audience, however, did go with a 5 for Cory, which means that Cory will be going up from a 4 to a 5.
I mean, given the fact that she's protected by the most powerful person in the game, I have to like her chances moving forward. And again, like I'm sort of like, when you're doing these ratings, you're evaluating the past, what has happened, and the ink is dry on that. But her position within the game is, like, to me, better than her play from this past week.
All right. Well, let's move on to our last player here, Damien.
Oh wow, we're already done. Okay.
Yeah, I'll start again here with Damien, where last week I gave him a 4, and I feel very similar with Damien as I do with Cory. I feel like they're both in very similar spots, and I think Damien is maybe a little less protected than Cory, but at the same time, I think that he is more protected by some of the other people in the house, like Adam and Sam, who don't want to go after him if they can help it, whereas they would go after Cory if they could help it. I really feel like he's in a similar spot. I think that he's also capable of winning competitions, capable of making a move. I also think he's probably the least influenced by the pretty boys of everyone in the house at this point, except for maybe Kira, but you might say that that's not true anymore because of Anthony. So I'm going to stick with my 4 for Damien, which is what I gave him last week. Brent, you also gave him a 4 last week. Are you still on board with that, or are you up or down here?
I'm down on Damien a little bit. Sorry. I'm going to give him a 3. I don't feel great about his overall game. He hasn't done anything strategically or socially to really merit me even keeping him at a 4 right now. I do, as I said previously, I feel like his position is such that he's going to be nominated this week, and he's probably going to be the target. Look, he should be the target. He is a big, strong guy. He does hockey. He should be somebody that they're trying to get out since he's not in the majority alliance. But socially, he's been able to dodge that by virtue of the fact that the boys kind of like him. He's a sweet enough guy, and frankly, that's why we all like him. So that's good, but I still feel like that given the fact that he doesn't have any real bond with anybody, unless you want to call Cory the bond, but who the hell is Cory? Cory is, doing what Anthony tells her to do. I feel like you have to take an honest look at his game and give him a 3.
All right, Melissa. Last week, Melissa gave him a 5. Just pointing that out.
Yes, and I'm going to stick with my 5 because I think that I don't think he's doing anything really besides, creating social bonds and stuff like that, but barely. But really, I don't think he needs to be doing anything. I think he's better off not doing something right now. I mean, the reason why I'm lower on Cory than I am on Damien is because Cory was about to be backdoored. And I don't think Damien came close to that. There was some initial talk or whatever about what about Damien, that sort of thing.
He could have been collateral damage as a pawn, but he was never targeted.
But I don't think it was like a backdoor Damien, we're doing this, whereas that was the case with Cory. And so that's why I feel a little better about Damien. But at the same time, I don't feel great about him, but that's the thing is I can't sit there and say, oh, he's definitely getting targeted next week or anything like that. I just think that he's very just nothing and very even keel, middling, and that's why I'm giving him a 5.
All right. The audience gave Damien a 6 last week. They have gone down this week to a 5. So that will put Damien, I believe, here at a 4 total, which means Damien has gone down in price a bit. So there's the stock watch. There's the ratings. Interesting week. I feel like a lot of people were anticipating very low ratings, but I don't think that's really the case. I think that we've got one really low rating and then a lot of 4s, 5s, and 6s, and then 1 8 really just kind of running the show.
Yep.
So
and that's how I see the house, basically. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into what people have done here in their buying and selling decisions. Last week, we had a deadline Thursday before the double eviction. This was a tricky one. You had to decide what to do with all your money. and we're gonna go over those decisions now. We'll start with Brent. What did Brent decide to do?
I'm trying to remember what I did. Let me
week?
find it real quick. There you are, Alexandra. Okay, here we go. Flip.
All right, Brent decided.
Sorry. I got it.
There
Here we
you
go.
go.
I read it. Okay. This is what I sold all of my 10 shares of Kira. Okay. And what happened with Kira? Did they go up or down?
Kira went up.
Okay, so that was bad. I sold Kira's shares. I sold my 6 shares of Mark. What happened to Mark?
Mark did go down by 1.
Thank God. Okay, so that was a bit of a wash, and I bought 22 shares of Cory.
And Cory has gone up by $1, which means Brent made a profit here of $22 this week.
Fabulous. And I just want you to know, because I told, this is the thing I was looking for. I told Alexandra this. This is what I said to Alexandra. I said, okay, good to know. I just wanted to tell you that I had literally typed out that I was selling all of my shares to buy a bunch of shares of Eddie. Like I was going to go whole hog. I had this typed out on my little phone. I was going 22, like sell Kira, sell Mark, 21 shares of Eddie, whatever I could have bought for Eddie. I had it typed out. And I let it sit there for about 10 minutes. I was kind of looking at the feeds, looking at Twitter, and I was like, that's really that's dicey, Brent. Let's not go for the whole hog right now. Let's go for Cory. And then, this is what happened. And then I was at work, and then I saw that Eddie was evicted, and I was like, woo, baby. That was amazing.
Dodged a bullet.
Yeah,
Brent took a risk, and it paid off here. Cory could have been on her way out the door this week, which would have really put Brent in a bind, having all of his money.
I was thinking about that.
Cory.
I was like, oh my God, what am I going to rate her if she actually, is she going to go home this week? And I was like, you know what? I have to evaluate her honestly. I feel like I would have probably given her a 2. That's what I would have done. Go ahead.
All right, well, let's move on to my decisions. I tried to play it a lot safer, and it's, I kind of ended up with a little bit of a wash here. So I sold, last week I had 16 shares of Mark. He went up by $3, which means I made a big profit. I decided to sell 11 of those shares, leaving me with 5 shares of Mark. I then bought 10 shares of Cory and 6 shares of Adam. I was trying to spread myself out a bit, trying to make sure that if I lost anybody in the double eviction or if they were looking like they were going home, that I wouldn't be completely dead. I had a pretty hefty lead from the Mark decision, and I wanted to try and just maintain that as much as possible. So ultimately, Mark does go down a bit, so I'm going to lose about $5 from the Mark shares, but I'm going to make 10 with Cory and then another 6 with Adam, which I think is going to put me at about $11 made total, if I'm not mistaken. So there you go. Not as good as Brent's, but I managed to come out okay here. I feel okay about that.
Yeah, so at least you didn't buy any Eddie. I thought one of you might have bought Eddie.
Yes.
Melissa, what did you do?
Well, I'm really bad at this. I'm very bad because I forgot that you make the money and then the person goes down the next week and you lose the money. So I didn't sell people when I probably should have. So I just am realizing now that I'm losing a bunch of money every week. So because I'm just holding on to people and then their stock keeps going down. But I guess maybe.
So who do you currently own? Let's refresh people.
Okay, I have 2 Anthonys, which I think he did go up from when I bought him.
Yes.
So I guess that's good. But if he goes down, then I lose all that. So whatever. And then I've got 2 Esties, 3 Marks, and 2 Sams. And I was worried that Sam was going to go in the double. But I held true and I didn't sell. So I kept
Melissa
my
hasn't
Sam.
sold anything yet.
I have not sold anything. And to be fair, none of my people have gone home yet. So,
So what did you buy before the double?
So I think I made a mistake, but you know what? Whatever.
What did you do?
I bought 4 Damien.
Oh,
yes.
So
okay. Well, that's not terrible.
But it's
That's
not
terrible.
awful.
Yeah.
So, maybe he'll go up. I don't know. But he
could
go down. So
I think that if he can survive one more week, it's like the Sam position. I feel like if he can survive one more week and the side pieces start causing resentments between the pretty boys, I do feel like that's his in. So you may want to hold on to that. It's up to you.
Yeah.
There you go. So Melissa lost a little bit of money there on Damien, but did make a little bit with Anthony, those held on shares. So Overall, looking at the just quickly at the portfolio values, Melissa is currently worth $85. Brent is worth $130, and I'm worth $131. Is that right? That doesn't sound right to me, but
I don't think so. It should be. And by the way, I had trouble reading that.
Puts him as $1 above Brent.
Alexandra, there was something on there because I was looking at your portfolio and it looked like it was like vastly superior to my own, but it was like a before and after kind of thing. So I had trouble reading it. So maybe I mean, talk with her about that.
Based on how much I've made, I think I should be a little higher, but I don't understand exactly what the math is here. So we'll figure it out. We'll get it worked out.
How much money did you make this week? You won like $11.
This week I think I made 11. The week prior I made 48, and the week prior to that I made 20. And you made 20, and then 18, and then like 20.
And you have like a $30 lead on me.
Yeah.
Am I making any money? Am I losing all my money? What am I doing? I'm so confused.
If there was a way for the audience to play in this as well, I feel like that they would be doing better than Melissa.
Totally.
The audience, the Reddit is playing, and the Patreon group are playing. They're doing pretty well.
I'm still playing like it's our previous method of playing, where it was like whoever has the shares in the end.
Yeah. Well, Taryn changed the rules. He put it forward, and we agreed to it that we wanted to have.
No, I'm fine with the rule change. I'm not.
We wanted to have more action, so we removed the penalty for selling. That's the thing. Yeah.
Which is totally fine. I just apparently not. It's not cooking in my brain that we're doing something different, and so I'm just still like buying shares and then not selling anything and just holding everything, and then I'm gonna regret it. But I've won this
3 times, so let me show you how it's done.
All right. Well, I think part of this might be that I banked $18, so I currently have 38 to spend. Brent, you have 20 to spend. So maybe that's currently not in the portfolio total. So maybe that will add another 18 to the $1 I have over you there.
We will tweet out what happened.
We'll figure it out.
I want my money.
All right. So let's start to wrap this up here. We have a couple more questions to get to from the form. I asked, how would you rate the episodes of Big Brother Canada this week? And the answer was a 5.2 average out of 10. Last week it was 5.6. So this is still on a steady stream downward. But you know, still over 5. Still just slightly over average. There you go.
Yeah, I feel like the episodes have been pretty good, but it's very much an A-B storyline. I mean, we know what the power structure is. The announcer knows who the power structure is. They're like, can anybody take out the pretty boys? By the way, the announcer is definitely different, right? Like, that's not the same guy that Kevin Martin met, like the guy who was like before on Big Brother Canada. It's a different guy, right? Or not?
I don't pay enough attention.
No, you don't pay attention. Okay, I think it's a different guy. Anyway, I feel like the episodes have been pretty good. I feel like they've done a good job of showing us what's been happening within the house. And, I mean, what else can you ask for? I mean, the cast is not responsible for the episodes. I feel like the producers are, and that's just how I feel about it.
All right. Well, the feeds, I also asked about the feeds. The feeds were given a 5.3 compared to last week, a 5.4.
That's low.
So,
they were good.
Yeah, I agree. I think the feeds were pretty good. I mean, again, like it's rare for me to be able to just turn the feeds on and like things are happening that that's good stuff. There was one day, I think yesterday, they had a big pool tournament that there was boring feeds for a few hours, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot how like this happens. Like, by the way, sometimes things aren't happening.
Eddie within the chat makes a really good point that I said last night, and I hope you guys are in agreement. You know, the fact that we have Anthony in the house, who is doing so great. The fact that he doesn't have a bigger edit is really an indictment of the show. They really need to fix that. Everything else I like. They're showing what's happening accurately. They're showing the Pretty Boys are in control. What they're really not showing is the fact that Anthony is the mover and shaker of the Pretty Boys, and that is a disservice to him. So fix it, and I hope they do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, I feel like there's such potential in Anthony, that he's such a villain, and we don't have. I think that's the problem right now with the storyline the episodes are telling, is that there's no villain. You've got Dane, who is kind of portrayed as like a hero, but also to not really be liked. You've got Adam, who's like in the showman's also kind of a hero. Like, everyone's a hero, nobody's the villain, and Anthony is our villain, but he's not being shown as such.
To be fair, Dane is also being portrayed as the villain. My mom, as the casual viewer, and my dad, he's watching as well. They do not like Dane and they want him out. So I do think he's being portrayed not super well.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like that maybe the show is protecting Anthony a little bit, because by not showing him as like actively the one who's causing the things to happen within the house, and the people who are watching don't like what's happening in the house right now. They're saving him a little bit from that. Like your mom and your dad, or whoever you said was watching it, and they are blaming it on Adam and Dane. Like, those are the figureheads of the alliance, but Anthony is the guy behind the curtain, so to speak. And I do feel like that if the show cared more about him, they would show him more, because how great would it be to have like some mustache twirling villain in the diary room going, oh my God, I got the, twirling his mustache going, I've got these people like around my hand and I know what I know what I'm doing, and look at me. And like, I would live for that. We haven't had that in a while.
They're going to have a lot of work to do when it gets down to it and Anthony's like controlling everything, and they're gonna be like, where did this guy come from? And they're gonna have to like explain backwards, like, oh yeah, by the way, he controlled all these votes and he's been influencing the entire game, like, just like FYI.
And they're just gonna ignore it like they did with Johnny.
Yeah, that's true. And then Anthony will get out and then no one will remember him or whatever, and it's so sad because he's doing such a great job.
And like, to be clear, in terms of like the villain thing, I think that Dane is being portrayed as like the guy that thinks he's the hero but is really the villain, where Anthony is a villain and he knows he's a villain. He laughs at people behind their backs. Like he will talk about like, we're gonna manipulate these people and position people here, and it's gonna be great. And like, I wish we saw more of that.
I wish we saw that too. So maybe I feel a little bit differently about the episodes, because I did forget about the fact that they're really ignoring Anthony. But overall, I again, they've been accurate. They're just not showing it's like the main headline is correct, which they couldn't even get that right last year. So let's be thankful for that.
Last year they made shit up all the time. This year, at least, they're just kind of like leaving some stuff out.
Yeah.
All right. So I also asked you to rank your players from your favorite to your least favorite. I think unsurprisingly, Damien remains at the top spot here. Still the favorite, but there has been some movement here. Last week, it may surprise you that Esty was in second place in the favorite poll.
Week?
Yeah, just last week, Esty was second place in the fan favorite poll. This week, she has fallen all the way down to fourth to last, only above Kiki, Dane, and Kira. Those are the bottom
you feel
four.
Better?
Yeah, well, I also feel like the episode was not great for her when she was like, I'm with Dane all the way, Dane and I. It's like, oh God, it just was not a good edit for her at all.
Yes. So, who do you guys think replaced Esty in the number 2 spot?
The number 2 spot in this house. I'm gonna say Sam. I think people. Well,
I think Sam or Adam
made a bad move though. I'm gonna stick with Sam.
That's correct. Sam has risen from 4th place last week up to 2nd place, just above Cory in 3rd, who stayed in 3rd. So Sam just kind of leapfrogged
Where is
Cory.
she on the show?
Yes. Another big move from last week to this week. Probably, I don't know if this person did anything in particular to make this happen, or if it was really just a product of everyone else going down. But Mark was previously 4th to last week. This week he is 4th, just behind Cory. I don't know what happened.
I don't understand either of those. Cory in 3rd.
I mean, he was basically doing nothing before, and at least now that he's on the block, we get to hear from him a little bit. He's a few more confessionals. So I don't know.
I guess Cory's just inoffensive.
Maybe because Mark is willing to go against the pretty boys.
Yeah, that's probably it. Actually,
he's the highest rated pretty boy.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, Taryn, and it really should be Anthony. Mark going after the pretty boys is a dumbass thing to do. I don't know why people would. I understand what people
go. It's like
would root for it, but game-wise, it's a terrible thing to do. Anthony is the person that everybody should be rooting for.
Yes, it is. It is Damien, Sam, Cory, and then we've got 3 of the pretty boys: Mark, Adam, and Anthony in that order. But it's pretty close between the 3 of them. They're all right there. The top 3 are a bit separated. Then you've got the 3 pretty boys, and then you've got the Dane Dane, Kiki, SD trio. They're pretty close down near the bottom. And then you've got Kira in dead last, very, 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 very last place.
Wait, Kira's in last place?
Yes.
People, you're living in the past, people. Come on.
Yeah.
They haven't been that bad this week.
I don't think Kira should
I mean,
be
I know we can laugh at them about the whole I cracked the boys alliance and it's not a thing. I mean, yeah, but they're gaming, so at least give them credit
They
for
got
that.
the blood veto. They're the only ones who wanted to get the blood veto. It's like, come on. I think Kira did a good job this week.
Yeah, and they're not as insufferable with Chelsea not in the house. Like,
Yeah.
And whatever. Moving on.
All right. Well, I also asked, who should Adam have targeted during his HOA train in the double eviction? Usually I'm careful with the wording. I did forget to put in like what's best for his game. So I feel like maybe that was a little bit off here. But the top answer was Kiki. They felt like he should have targeted Kiki. I actually can't argue with that too much, that maybe getting Kiki out would have been an okay thing for him to do. Second place, though, was Dane, which I felt like a bit of a mistake in that sense. I don't know if Adam should have targeted Dane.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, the results of this week, Kiki's probably going to go home. She was actively coming after Sam. Sam's the HOH, so that's good. Also, Sam's improved her lot in the house by infiltrating the pretty boys just a little bit and following the script. So I have to feel pretty good about the fact that Kiki's going home for their sake, even though, like, as Taryn points out, just because you kick or shoot the pool balls and cause everything to scatter doesn't mean you end up in necessarily a better position.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have as many problems with this move as maybe I did a couple days ago. Yeah.
Eddie was fourth in the voting after Kiki, Dane, and Esty all were the top three that he should have targeted according to the audience. But I agree. I'm not mad at the Eddie choice. I think that it was a fine move for his game.
Yeah.
I then had, and I did this a little bit different because I feel like there's a lot of different answers that this one could go with. I wanted you to rank the players in order of who's best for Sam to target this week for her game. And the top spot was Dane. And that's a decent choice. I do feel like if she can get Dane out, she should. I think the issue is, can she get Dane out? And that's a reasonable question. I think we've talked about it, like, if she put him up against Anthony, I think right away Dane has the votes to stay. I do think Anthony is good enough that he could get the votes, but obviously Sam can't predict that. So I don't know. If you are Sam and you have the information that Sam has, how do you think you can get Dane out? Do you have any ideas there, Brent?
Dane versus Kiki, maybe?
No. I mean, I think she has to take a leap of faith that she can get him out.
Yeah.
And, that's the only way she can do it, because I do feel like she needs to get Dane out. He's still ranting about the fact that she is still in the house and that she's going to make jury. So in order to do that, you have to be willing to put your life on the line and go for it. And that's a tough thing to do. I mean, like I said, Jessica during 19 knew that Paul had control over everything. She didn't know how much he did, but she knew that he was a pretty big deal in the house, and she didn't really see a way to get him out. Even if she puts him up against Josh, he's not going home. She would have needed to put him up against Alex, as I recall. And even then, I think things might have been dicey. So similar position here. You have a choice in front of you. Again, she wanted to do this. She had him on her short list, but she didn't see a path forward. And she decided to, instead of like declaring war on the boys, she decided to like kind of go in the side door and hope that she will be taken along a little bit, and then she can maybe win again, or Adam can win again. I don't discount the fact that Adam and her are really good at these competitions, and he could conceivably win HOH again.
Yeah. Anthony was second in this ranking. That feel like Anthony might have been the second best person to take out here. I also can't really argue with that. Even if you do miss your shot against Dane, if you do manage to get Anthony out, that does open things up for you. Unfortunately, Dane still being in the house and unrestrained, now that Anthony's gone, it does leave Sam especially vulnerable. Getting Anthony out helps other people a lot more than it helps you. But still, getting Anthony out could again sort of shake up the house and scatter the pool balls. Really, though, what I was interested in as well was who is going to be ranked higher between Kiki and Mark, because that's who she's really been going back and forth about all week. And the audience did say Kiki was third place in this rankings. The audience does say that Kiki is a better target than Mark, and I definitely agree with that.
I definitely agree with that as well, because Kiki would go after Sam, Mark would blow up the pretty boys. What do you want, people? Let's obviously get. By the way, I don't feel bad about the fact that she's going home. I mean, I know at the beginning of the week, what I wanted to have happen was, Sam to get HOH and throw up two pretty boys, Dane and Anthony, girl, bye, see ya. But then watching how this week has played out and seeing, Melissa, that Kiki is so terrible at this game and just actively bad. I am actually kind of thrilled with the fact that she's not going to make jury. Sorry. And she's going to be evicted. And then the people who are playing better are going to get to stay.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I would hope that the week would have played out in a way that was better for Sam. But, oh, well, like, I don't really care if Kiki stays or not. If she was going to be, if her staying would have been better for Sam's game, then I would have wanted her to stay. But it doesn't seem like it is. So whatever. Bye.
Whatever, bye. I asked the audience, from what you've seen, are you for or against the blood veto twist? And pretty significantly, once again, it is a very much against, a score of 29 out of 100. I mean, very much a failing grade here. Yeah,
we don't even know what it is, Melissa. And then the way they handed it out was just crazy. I can't imagine any other cast. I'm trying to imagine the season 6 cast if this was presented and they all had to unanimously agree on something in the backyard. I have to believe that it would have been more of a fight than this 10-minute fraud that we got.
Yeah, no, I didn't like the way that it happened. It just makes me mad because it makes me feel like that people don't care about winning or playing the game, and it's just like no one is trying for it. And like there are some people who I'm like, I get why they weren't trying to go for it, totally. But for the most part, there were a lot of people there that should have fought for it, or at the very least should have questioned giving it straight to Kira. It's just like, I don't know. I didn't like it.
What was the point of having the blood veto in the room when Damien was there? Seriously.
Yeah, the whole thing was so stupid. It was like so that you could see it, and then Damien,
make the audience think.
Damien literally got nothing from those vote-ins. Not a thing from those vote-ins. It's just, it's frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I also added in a question here. Matt requested this one for the audience to rank the players in order of who you think is most likely to win the game to who you think is least likely to win. I was curious. I've refrained from putting this question up before because I feel like it's basically answered when you rate the players. How well they're doing in the game. It pretty directly correlates to how much of a chance you think they have to win the game. And that actually played out. That basically was in order of the average ratings that were received from the audience, with Anthony at the top. People think Anthony is most likely to win, followed by Dane, then Adam, then Damien, Cory, Mark, Sam, Esty, Kira, and Kiki in last place, which again directly correlates with the ratings that they received from the audience. Yeah,
I would argue with the Damien position as being the fourth most likely person to win. He was fourth, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's just likability, but everything else I can sign on to.
Yeah, personally, I'd probably put Mark at fourth, and then I'd go, Esty, Cory, Damien.
Yeah, I'd have Damien like 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, Kira. So yeah, there you go. Interesting answers there. We'll see how correct the audience eventually is. I also asked, of course, who do you want to be evicted this week? And I was slightly surprised, but maybe not given her play recently. It was actually Kiki is the person that the audience would prefer to see evicted this week over Mark. About 60% said Kiki. It was much closer than last week where it was like 98% Kira. But the audience did say they would like Kiki to leave. Final thing I asked is theories for the blood veto. And I got a lot of them, so I apologize if you had a great one that I didn't get to because I couldn't read them all. But I tried to pick out some that were unique that I hadn't necessarily heard before. I can say like 90% of the theories that I read were either it's basically a diamond power veto or it's basically a coup d'etat. That they will get to choose one person to come off the block and then choose the replacement, or they will get to choose 2 people to come off the block and 2 replacements. That was the majority of the theories. I personally don't think that's the case. I feel like that's really lame and boring.
Well, yes.
Go ahead.
Did you have another theory that you wanted to talk about or that you thought was true?
Well, if you have a comment on this one, that's...
I'm sorry. I had totally dismissed it because I didn't think it was true.
Right. Well, there you go. So, okay. So here's one of the theories that, okay, it's called the blood veto. Maybe in order to use its power, you have to pay for the veto in blood, not necessarily at that eviction, but perhaps you won't be eligible for the next HOH or veto competition. So that's a decent theory. Like, you can use this power, but it comes with a drawback. Maybe you won't be able to compete in something, or, maybe there's some other kind of punishment that draws blood or something along those lines. What do you guys think? Is this a reasonable theory?
I mean, it's reasonable as anything else.
Yeah, anything's reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's Big Brother Canada. I mean, this is the same show that, had a fake double eviction and let people watch the feeds for an entire week and evicted the best player just when the things were getting good. Anyway.
Yes, and I forgot to tell people to put their names in so I could credit them. So I apologize that I don't know who this was that sent this theory along. But another one we got here was perhaps it's that right before the vote, or sorry, no, this is the wrong one. But we also have this theory from Tom Palmer that we've been talking about. Of I don't know if Melissa, I've gotten your thoughts on this one. That perhaps it's that you take somebody down and then the other person is immediately evicted, basically giving you the sole vote to evict with the blood veto. Is that something? What do you think about that one, Melissa?
It's possible. I mean, the way that I think that the most likely, or at least what I'm thinking it is that Kira can take someone down or veto one of the nominations, but then she has to make her own nomination.
It's possible.
Yeah, I'm not really buying that. I'm buying this one. This is from the Big Brother wiki that actually texted all of us and said, could the blood veto be a Tyler Perry super idol kind of thing? Someone is evicted and the blood veto can block that eviction. It would give the producers the chance to do another triple eviction, because as the numbers stand right now, they don't have the numbers for that. So I actually do kind of like that. I actually sort of mixing it with the theory you had previously that they might be able to they might not be able to play in the next HOH if they decide to use it to actually basically cancel an eviction, or it's just called a blood veto because you're saving them after they're dead or something. I don't know, but
yeah. I mean, I was talking about the halting hex just this morning. So
I'm more inclined to believe it's something like that. And the fact that Kira has told Sam that, hey, we're still going to vote Kiki out, leads me to believe that I think it will actually not be done after this week. And then maybe Kira will be able to hold on to it. But maybe it's a timing thing, like, where Allison only had 2 weeks to use whatever secret veto she had. Maybe it's a safety net. This would be great if it's a safety net for next week and Sam's actually in trouble, like, for real, finally. And then, because Sam's never even actually been put on the block. I don't know if y'all realize that. She's never even been nominated. And Kira can save Sam. I could get behind that.
I did see from somebody, you get to know where people voted. Maybe there's something to do with getting to see things, which is kind of a theme of the season, like getting to see the eviction votes. I'm not sure. Maybe you can see the votes and then veto some of the votes. Maybe. Who knows? But
by the way, I will say that the theme. Look, not coming for Arissa, girl, I love you, but this whole spy agents thing, it has not worked for me. I do not enjoy it. I like the other things they've done in the past. The casino one was probably my favorite for obvious reasons, but this one, it's a no.
Well, they're also not doing anything with it. If they had a thing that they had to discover the blood veto, like use clues or something in order to
so great.
Get the blood veto and actually earn it, then maybe I could
Melissa,
go along with it.
You should run the show. That would be so great to see something like that. They had to work together and then make a decision. Clues. We're never that lucky.
Some others that came up a lot were some that we've kind of talked about before, like, for instance, maybe you can change the nominations this week, but then you go up on the block automatically next week or something along those lines.
Can I say something real quick? I wanted to say this because I see people in the chat keep talking about the fact that it's like you can replace both nominations, or it's like a coup d'etat. If Kira was smart, they would use basically use it as a threat. Like, hey, like Boogie did, and say, because Dane keeps talking about the fact that we have to put Kira up on the block to flush this power. If I was Kira, I would make sure that people know that, hey, you might not want to mess with me this week. I can't say anything, but might not be the best decision. So yeah.
I mean, if it was something like that, yeah.
Well, you know what, though? She can't lie. They can't lie, obviously, about powers within the Big Brother house, but they can say something like that.
Yeah.
I wish people would do that more often.
One of the other common theories, though, is that it's just a veto that you're forced to use, which is something that they've had before. So just kind of like a rebrand, and that might be it. And if it is something that's forced to be played, or you're told that it's not going to be played, or whatever it is, then obviously there's not much you can do in terms of lying about it or hinting about it in any other sort of way. So those seem to be the predominant theories. I didn't really see anything else too crazy that differentiated from these. Again, I'm sorry if I missed any good ones in there, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I think we'll probably see it on Wednesday. I think because from what it sounds like, Kira was told about the power either during or before or maybe slightly after the veto ceremony. So I think that at that point we will be told as well.
Yeah.
So,
also, Kira, I know that they don't talk to the cameras a lot, but they have a few times. So I feel like they could even maybe say something. But on the other hand, maybe the producers said don't spill the beans yet. We want people to watch the episode, so I don't know.
That's true. It's something else that happens a lot, though, is that they usually think we have more information about like production than we think, or than they would. So than we actually do. So
house guests as a whole, yeah.
Yeah. So they might think that we already know at this point. They probably thought that we knew before they did.
We thought we should too.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll find out here on Wednesday, and yeah, I think that's about all we've got for you. Anything else that you guys wanted to talk about before we wrap this up? And in the chat, make sure you let me know if you have an idea for the hashtag for this episode.
I think Stacked has a good idea that maybe the viewers vote after the reveal on Wednesday. Maybe that's a possibility, that because they've done these 24-hour votes before. I think that's they like their votes. They like steering people to that website, Taryn. So don't discount that possibility.
That is something that people are considering. It's something that I have kind of ruled out in terms of my own theories, just based on what Kira has said. They've kind of implied that it's something within their power, saying that don't worry, Kiki will be leaving, which, like, if it were down to a vote, I think they would definitely not feel confident in that, given that Kiki was just given the bed in the have-not, and they feel like Kiki is a fan favorite. So I feel like Kira would be not reassuring Sam that Kiki is going to stay if they thought that there was a vote involved.
Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. The fact that Kira's reassuring Sam leads me to believe that this week's going to play out as intended.
Yes. All right. I'm seeing hashtag toothmatized.
That to me, that was my third least favorite one, or third favorite one. Melissa's
least favorite.
I know I'm having trouble with my English tonight. Yeah. He's missing a tooth. I thought
he's
was
missing a
funny,
tooth,
and obviously moderately great.
Moderately great. Yeah. I think he's missing a tooth is good.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. It's not mean or anything. It's just he's missing a tooth. I love the way she said that. You were so triggered, Melissa.
I was, and I still am.
And he farts everywhere. What the hell?
It's
true.
I don't get it.
I don't get people sometimes with how open they are about their bowel movements and bodily functions.
I agree. As a man, I have never gotten that, because usually the guys are like, "Yeah, that sounded really good," and I'm like,
"You'll never." It was World War II in that bathroom just a second ago.
Oh no! I don't need to hear about that. I'm very with you on this, Taryn.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry guys.
Melissa apparently is as well, because she was aghast.
Aghast.
All right, so I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happened today on the Big Brother Canada 7 live feeds, and then Thursday night we'll be back to recap the eviction episode of Big Brother Canada 7. So look out for that. We are still doing Sunday shows because you guys requested them, and we want to give you guys what you want. So we will of course be back Sunday as well. So thank you guys for joining us today. You can find us on Twitter. I'm at at Armstrong Taryn. You can block Brent at One Lucky Gay, and you can follow Melissa at It's Melissa with 3 A's. And yeah, that's what we got for you. So thank you once again for joining us for Brent and Melissa. Hashtag wow, no, what was it?
Yeah. I knew you were going to screw it up. See, moderately gray would have been easy to remember. He's missing a tooth.
He's missing a tooth.
Yes.
Hashtag he's missing a tooth.
He's missing a tooth.
We'll see you next time.